Chapter 51. Just now, he clearly realized the impact of losing part of his body on his strength. Just like Senju Doma, he was not seriously injured in the face of Jiraiya's attack just now. On the one hand, he is strong enough. The other aspect is that he is not targeted by the Sage Jutsu Chakra. The Sage Jutsu Chakra should be higher in level than the 5 types of chakra: water, fire, thunder, wind, and earth. The comparison with the Yin and Yang attribute chakra is open to question. Normal ninjutsu cannot cause damage to Six Paths Sage Mode and the Otsutsuki clan. Only the power of Taijutsu, Sage Jutsu Chakra, and Yin-Yang style can. Jiraiya, who lost his legs, will not bother the Senju Rope Tree again for a short time. He can use this time to improve his strength. The Senju Rope Tree looked into the distance, where was Konoha's defense line. Sensing the movement of the battle just now, ninjas came to investigate. The speed is so fast that people are surprised. Uchiha Mirror? In Senju's perception, the identity of the visitor was confirmed to be Uchiha Mirror, who had been on the battlefield in the Land of Rain. The Uchiha tribe was most influenced by Senju Tobirama. Senju Tobirama once thought that he was a pawn to destroy the Uchiha tribe. In fact, his influence was far-reaching enough. He was partly responsible for the annihilation of the Uchiha tribe. The speed of movement is worthy of Shirsue's elder. Quick. This attribute also comes from the same origin. Senju Rope Tree, is that you? Uchiha Mirror's eyes were full of disgust. The moment he spoke, his pupils turned scarlet, with 3 Magatama spinning in them. In his heart, Senju Rookie, as the patriarch of the Senju family and the grandson of his teacher, has not inherited their will of fire at all, and does not know how to sacrifice for Konoha, which will only bring harm to Konoha. We must stop him, capture him, and receive the education of the will of fire. Senju Rope Tree felt the impact of a spiritual power, and the surrounding scene began to change and distort. The light rain that had stopped had resumed, and there was an elusive feeling that made the Senju Rope Tree feel fearful. Untie! Senju Doma shouted in a low voice. A powerful aura erupted from his body, interfering with the operation of chakra, and stared at the Uchiha Mirror, with a trace of murderous intent flashing in his eyes. Senju Doma has no good impression of the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha Mirror in front of him tried to control them both with Genjutsu when they first met. The Genjutsu just now wanted to attack the Senju Rope Tree. Jiraiya had already hurt the Senju Rope Tree in front of Senju Doma, so why would he let someone from the Uchiha clan hurt the Senju Rope Tree? In this way, as a protector, he has failed too much. I really don't know what to say. The Senju Rope Tree on the side did not interfere with its own chakra to relieve Genjutsu like Senju Earthen. Call. The body of Senju Rope Tree is like a whirlpool. All the virtual objects around it, the drizzle of rain, and trees that should not exist are all absorbed into the body of Senju Rope Tree. These are the embodiment of Uchiha Mirror chakra and pupil power. Uchiha Mirror, you are truly a loyal minister of Konoha. Senju's eyes flashed with danger, and his mood was very complicated. This is another disaster planted by Senju Tobirama. Senju Tobirama and Senju Hashirama really cheated their grandsons without any limits, and cheated their families without any limits, until death. Senju Tobirama promotes his ideals, whether they are true or not, and allows Uchiha to form the will and ninja that are completely devoted to Konoha. You can sacrifice yourself, you can sacrifice the Uchiha family, you can sacrifice the Senju family, everything can be sacrificed for Konoha. The Genjutsu just now wanted to capture Senju Nawaki and Senju Doma, but unfortunately he was overestimating his own strength. Senju Rope Tree, you have betrayed the will of the teacher, the philosophy of the Senju clan, and the will of fire of Konoha. You have become a threat to Konoha. Please come back with me, atone for yourself, and admit your mistake to the Hokage. There was a trace of scarlet in the corners of Uchiha's mirrored eyes. He was breathing heavily, and his heart was full of shock. Senju Doma is not under the control of his Genjutsu, as he expected. But the strength of Senju Rope Tree has improved too fast, and the method of breaking Genjutsu just now is unheard of. The chakra and pupil power in his body actually flowed into the Senju Rope Tree. Such a dangerous person, who is still hostile to Konoha, must be controlled. Brainless. Idiot. Senju Naoki and Senju Doma looked at each other and uttered words with similar meanings to describe the Uchiha Mirror in front of them. Senju Rope Tree, feel the changes in your body. Absorbing Uchiha's chakra and eye power actually gave his bloodline a faint feeling of breakthrough. The body was severely injured and recovered instantly. The Senju clan and the Uchiha clan really complement each other. No wonder Uchiha Madara was able to awaken the Samsara Eye, the Eye of God, After taking a bite of Senju Hashirama, the bloodlines of the two families have a close relationship, even closer than the relationship between the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan. Senju roped the tree into his mind and started a series of calculations. The next step was how to complement my body. After absorbing the chakra and eye power of the Uchiha mirror, I had some thoughts in my mind. A nearly perfect experimental plan emerged. There are the best materials in Konoha. The Uchiha clan possesses the In attribute chakra in their bodies that is very compatible with the Senju clan, and the bloodlines of both parties complement each other. The Sarutobi clan has all 5 chakra attributes, a good material to lay a solid foundation. The pig, deer, and butterfly family is another material whose yin and yang attributes are relatively stable when combined. Senju ropes the tree in his mind and quickly formulates a plan. These enemies who wanted him dead happen to be the qualifications for his advancement. It coincides with his way of tolerance, self-righteous fairness, and far-fetched justice. On the other side of Uchiha mirror, the hesitation in his eyes dissipated. He felt a malice in Senju Nezuki's body, as if he wanted to swallow the whole world. Without any care, this malice was a resistance to his malice. Buzz. There was a vibration in the air. Uchiha's eyes were filled with blood and tears. The 3 Magatama eyes gradually merged together. Elder Tujin, trap him. We should leave to see our old friends. Senju Naoki narrowed his eyes and ordered Senju Doma. The Uchiha mirror in front of him has awakened Mangekyo Sharingan, which is the best material for him. But Senju Rope Tree didn't intend to do it himself. Such a Konoha loyal minister might sacrifice himself and drag 1 or 2 people into trouble before he dies. Senju's attention was focused in another direction, where the Sunagakure village was located. Let Konoha village and Sunagakure fight, while he continues to strengthen himself behind the scenes. Get the maximum gain at the minimum cost. I just sensed the presence of Ebizo and another powerful aura in the direction of Sunagakure village. If Uchiha Kagami dares to chase after him, then Ebizo, the people of Sand Hidden Village, should be happy to take action for him. The person with Ebizo is probably Cho, the legendary female ninja of Sand Hidden Village. The thing he sacrificed was also a forbidden technique developed by Senju Tobirama, who tricked his grandson, reincarnation in the Dirty Land. Everything is arranged for the best. Senju Rope Tree can't wait to see the dog-eat-dog fight. No matter who wins, Senju Rope Tree will be the biggest beneficiary. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 52. With style lost in the world, Senju Doma also had a cautious face, formed a seal with his hands, and used ninjutsu to trap the Uchiha mirror. As the inherited elder of the Senju clan, he knows more about the Uchiha clan than the ordinary Uchiha clan, especially the information about Sharingan. The danger of Mangekyo Sharingan should always be kept in mind. Each pair of Mangekyo has special abilities. During the Warring States period, whenever the Uchiha clan encountered the awakened Mangekyo Sharingan, they would use several times their combat power to encircle and kill them and consume all of Mangekyo's pupil power before they could win. It is also possible that some companions were taken away because of Mangekyo's ability. He must protect the Senju Rope Tree from harm, so he doesn't want to take risks. Click. A forest of giant trees rose from the ground and turned into a maze-like world. In the center, there is a huge black skeleton Susanoo, which is more than 30 meters tall. Every time it moves, it destroys a giant tree and is trying to break free from everything. The target is exactly 2 people. Senju Naoki and Senju Doma no longer paid attention to the Uchiha mirror, leaving a back figure in place. Stay away from brain damage and cherish life. Senju Noboru and Senju Doma are 10 minutes to the north, close to the defense line of Sunagakure village. The 2 suddenly stopped. The Senju Rope Tree discovered an abnormality, and the ninja that was originally detected disappeared into hiding. The surrounding environment has changed drastically. The place where he and Jiraiya originally fought was closer to Konoha's defense line and surrounded by forests. Now this place is closer to the front line of Sand Hidden Village. The surrounding area has become desolate. There is no longer any green, and there are more brown stones. It is very consistent with the living environment of Sand Hidden Village. After careful observation and perception, he spoke. Ebizo, why don't you come out and meet me? Senju Rope Tree stopped and stared at a stone 2 people high in the distance. Click. The stone cracked and turned into the shape of a crab. According to memory, this is a giant psychic beast called a sand crab that lives in the desert. The psychic beast in front of him has been made into a special hollow puppet. The changes are not over yet. The crab's shell cracked from the abdomen, and a figure walked out of it. It was Ebizo, who had had several contacts with Senju Noboru. The sand crab puppet, restored to its full form, stands behind Ebizo, like a real psychic beast. Surprise flashed through Senju Doma's heart. This technique of hiding one's body shape can hide oneself very well. Even he didn't notice it. How did Senju Noden Tree discover it? Looking at the Senju Rope Tree, I feel even more pleased and respected. There was no expression on Ebizo's face, and his heart was filled with questions. This bionic puppet technique is the latest research result of his sister Chiyo. Furthermore, they are human puppets. With Chiyo's skills, he was able to make human puppets, but due to some other interfering factors, he couldn't pass the test in his mind. This puppet is able to imitate the characteristics of various living creatures, including breath and chakra. Ebizo didn't understand what went wrong, and Senju noticed something unusual just by touching it. Chief Senju, your Senju clan appears on the battlefield this time. What do you think? Ebizo suppressed the doubts in his heart and asked Senju Rope Tree. This is a sensitive period. The war between Sunagakure village and Konoha village was about to break out, and he had to have doubts. The emergence of Senju Rope Tree may greatly change their original deployment. I am wary of the Senju Rope Tree. Ebizo, let your sister show up too. I have a deal to make with you. Senju shook his head and ignored him, but looked to the other side. The one who can really call the shots is Chiyo. The reason why Ebizo was discovered was not because he showed any flaws, but Senju Naoki had already been prepared and had already noticed two auras when fighting Uchiha Mirror. One is the familiar Ebizo, and the other is still above Ebizo. Senju came here just to trade with Sunagakure village. After careful investigation, he discovered that the hidden Ebizo, the owner of another aura, was still hiding in the dark. After seeing such exquisite puppetry, Senju guessed her identity. The puppet master of Sand Hidden Village, the master of poison, and the living fossil of Sand Hidden Village. His status in Sand Hidden Village is equivalent to Sarutobi Hiruzen's status in Konoha Hidden Village. From the second-generation Kazekage to the fourth-generation Kazekage, they are all important figures in Sunagakure village. When he first saw him, he showed a murderous intention that was only aimed at the Senju Rope Tree. This breath was extremely weak, just fleeting and then disappeared. Senju guessed that it should be related to Tsunade. Overview of changes on the field, familiar scenes. A small stone half a man's height on the side of the road turned into a scorpion, also a puppet. Click, 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 the writing puppet split open, and a short middle-aged woman walked out of it. She was covered with black cloth, covering her whole body, only revealing a pair of bright eyes. She is Chiyo from Sand Hidden Village. She fought in all directions on the battlefield of Rain Kingdom and is especially famous for her powerful poison skills. Chiyo is like a puppet, giving people a cold feeling, and his whole body also exudes a sense of death. Kid, you are Tsunade's brother. Do you want to be my enemy? The voice was hoarse, like the sound of metal colliding. While talking, your fingers are already bent, and the chakra thread you cannot see controls the puppet, ready to attack at any time. Sister, listen to him. Ebizo on the side suddenly came to Chiyo, held Chiyo's shoulders, and whispered comfort. With the death of his son and daughter-in-law, Chiyo's behavior became more domineering. Anyone who hinders her from achieving her goal will be attacked by her. Even the second-generation Kazekage Samama tried to dissuade Chiyo many times and hoped that he would exercise restraint in this battle, but Chiyo did not accept it. Konoha had already agreed to cede the interests of Kawakuni, and Shaman had achieved his goal before trying to restrain Chiyo. This was also Chiyo's initial appeal, but now everything has changed. He must seek justice in her heart for his son and daughter-in-law. It was obviously an agreement reached secretly between Konoha Hidden Village and Sunagakure Village. As for Konoha Village, internal chaos caused such a result. The people of Konoha are all treacherous people. The so-called covenant is not credible at all. This has reached a consensus in the entire ninja world. Konoha must pay the price for the death of her son and daughter-in-law. They are not only the future of Sunagakure Village, but also their own hope. Not even the second-generation Kazekage Samama can stop himself. In his heart, Chiyo was still complaining about himself as to why he believed in the conspirator Sarutobi Hiruzen. He would not be fooled again and was suspicious of everything. That's why the killing intent was released the moment Tsunade's brother appeared. Ebizo, in his heart, does not want Chiyo to take action against the Senju Rope Tree. The Senju clan now controls the grain trade and is an important source of logistics supplies for Sunagakure village. No, let me give you a hope. With a warm smile on Senju's face, he spread his hands to indicate that he meant no harm. There is a scroll in one of the hands. Call. Saying that, he threw the scroll to Ebizo. Ebizo took the scroll and glanced at the contents suspiciously. His pupils shrank into black dots, and his body couldn't stop shaking. Reincarnation from dirty soil, he murmured in his mouth, and his eyes emitted a different kind of light. When I saw the end, I frowned and kept rummaging around, wanting to take apart the entire scroll and mash it up. Because this is only detailed information about the reincarnation of the dirty land and part of the cursed seal, it lacks core research. Chapter 53. Sister. Look. There was inquiry in Ebizo's eyes, staring closely at the Senju Rope Tree, wondering what he was going to do. He gave the scroll in his hand to Chiyo. Chiyo was attracted by Ebizo's attitude, took the scroll and read it carefully. His body began to tremble, and 2 tears began to fall from his eyes. The nails on his right hand, in the excitement, were embedded in the flesh, and blood was flowing out without even noticing. According to the records on the scroll, the art of reincarnation in dirty land can summon the soul from the pure land, reside in the body of the sacrifice, cover it with dust, and be able to move according to the will of the dead person. It just happened to make up for each other with his reincarnation technique. With the technique of reincarnation, people who have souls but lifeless bodies can be resurrected. The 2 forbidden arts work together perfectly, and maybe they can really resurrect a person's flawless posture. The glimmer of hope in her heart was ignited, and she no longer paid attention to the many difficulties involved, including the imperfections of reincarnation in dirty earth and reincarnation in another life. A mother wants to try to make up for the mistakes she made. I also want to untie the last knot in my heart. If she hadn't forced the ninjas of Konoha village too much, Hatake Tsukumo would not have resisted so decisively and killed his son and daughter-in-law. Now there is a chance to make amends for all this. What do you want? Chiyo raised his head, carefully put away the scroll of Jetu reincarnation, and stared at the Senju Rope Tree. Take off your veil and show your true face to show your sincerity. The aura on his body fluctuated, no longer like a puppet, full of death. Regardless of anything, speak out your demands. She was ready to be threatened. Senju's eyes were like abyss. Everything was according to his plan, even too smooth. Behind him, in the direction of the Uchiha mirror where he fought with Jiraiya just now, there was a shaking sound. A Susanoo more than 30 meters tall, running and galloping on the ground, is Uchiha mirror. He didn't even give up and hunted down Senju Rope Tree. I don't know if it's arrogance or confidence. Senju is angry and wants to kill me, so be prepared to pay the price. Turning to look at Chiyo, this is his best knife. The complete art of reincarnation from dirty soil was divided into 4 parts by me. The one just now is one of them, which is considered as a deposit. This is our deal to kill some disgusting people in Konoha, one of whom is the enemy in front of us. Senju said, pointing into the distance. It was the Uchiha mirror. Things like Sharingan, especially Mangekyo Sharingan, Genjutsu, and the Eye-solidifying Jutsu, are extremely weird. Genjutsu can also use the shadow clone technique to resist, but the solidified technique requires testing to obtain specific information before it can be dealt with. In Senjunoki's memory, there is no information about Uchiha Kagami's awakening of Mangekyo, nor his Mangekyo Sharingan's ability. To test out this ability, the puppet of Sand Hidden Village is a good choice. This is one of the reasons why Senju asked Chiyo to cooperate. I agree, you'd better not lie to me, Chiyo said neatly and warned at the same time. He raised his head and looked at the huge Susanoo seriously, thinking about how to deal with it. Uchiha Kagami, when facing Chiyo in the Land of Rain, followed Hiruzen Sarutobi's order to give in, which made Chiyo feel a bit contemptuous. Ebizo on the side still wanted to bargain. Chiyo couldn't wait any longer and began to prepare for the battle. Senju Naoki was also a little surprised. He seemed to underestimate a mother's guilt for her child. What's more, the person we have to deal with is the enemy of Konoha village. Rumble. The earth shook, and the stones on the ground jumped up to a person's waist. The huge Susanoo came in front of him. Secret technique. Chikamatsu 10 people. Cho took out a seal scroll from nowhere, opened it on the ground, and pressed it with his right hand. Bang bang bang. A series of explosions and white smoke. 10 puppets wearing white cloaks, with different characters between their eyebrows, surrounded Chiyo. These puppets are the proud work of the master of puppets, Zaemon. Once these 10 puppets, under the control of the puppet master, massacred a city and achieved their fame. Elder sister? Ebizo frowned and let out a long sigh. He had admired his sister since he was a child, and this time he decided to support his sister. I was shocked in my heart. I didn't expect that my sister would actually use such a powerful murder weapon in the first place. The 10 Chikamatsu people were not revealed in past battles and were used as secret killing weapons. The reason why Chiyo has such a high status in Sand Hidden Village is that puppetry plays an important role. The 30-meter-tall Susanoo appeared in front of several people. The figure of Uchiha Mirror is on Susanoo's chest. Senjuruki, you actually colluded with Sunagakure village. You are worthy of being a member of the Senju clan, and you are worthy of being a member of Konoha. You deserve to die. A reverberation came from Susanoo, his tone full of disdain and condemnation. Chiyo, whether you can get what you want depends on your strength and sincerity, Senju said to Chiyo, who was surrounded by puppets. He didn't want to continue arguing with Uchiha Mirror. Let him focus on the overall situation. He and the Senju family are never in the overall situation. Let him pay no matter the price. He and the Senju family are that price. If the Senju Rope Tree had never awakened, then the Senju Rope Tree and the Senju clan would have been a victim and price of the Second Ninja World War in Konoha. Become a stepping stone for the Sarutobi family. In the ninja world, every powerful person has his own way of ninja. In his own eyes, this is his own persistence and good wishes. In the eyes of others, this is distorted cognition. Senju Rope Tree doesn't want to get too entangled. He looked up at the Uchiha Mirror, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Konoha's loyal dog wants his life so firmly, so he must pay the price with his life. Genjutsu, who originally broke free from the Uchiha Mirror, absorbed his chakra and eye power, making Senju's body throb, longing for the power of the Uchiha Mirror. Senjuruki guessed that due to the complementary characteristics of the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan, if the Uchiha Mirror, the material for awakening Mangekyo, is used to complement his own bloodline, his life level will definitely jump. A mutilated body can also be restored. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 54. The war is about to break out. Chiyo raised his head and looked at this behemoth, his eyes a little more solemn, recalling the information about Uchiha Mirror and Susanoo in his mind. Because Senju Tobirama and Sarutobi Hiruzen were suppressed by the Hokage, Uchiha Kagami did not leave any legend in the ninja world. Now it seems that the power in front of me is the power that Uchiha Madara has according to the Sunagakure village. I felt a little more cautious, but didn't feel any regret. 10 people from Chikamatsu, bound? With a slight movement of his finger, the chakra string controlled the 10 Chikamatsu people to start attacking. Number 4, number 5, number 7, number 8, number 9. 5 puppets stood at the 5 corners of Susanoo. Some spit out chains from their mouths, some spit out chains from their chests, some split their heads and shot out chains. Black chains wrapped around Susanoo's legs, and there were black seal lines on them, causing Susanoo to fall into a brief stagnation. There are 10 people in Chikamatsu, and each puppet has a unique role, including restraint, seal, attack, protection, etc. The most basic unit, a single puppet can achieve a certain function. The cooperation of 2 puppets will enhance this ability. Chiyo's action just now caused half of the Chikamatsu 10 to use their binding and sealing abilities in an attempt to trap Susanoo. This is already the greatest respect for Uchiha Mirror and the seriousness of Susanoo. When Chiyo fights against a shadow alone, 2 Chikamatsu 10 people can control the shadow's actions. Her action also angered Uchiha Mirror. Chiyo, he actually got involved with the traitors of Konoha. Senju Rope Tree, you cannot be left alone. Uchiha Mirror's movements in controlling Susanoo stalled and faltered, and the chains of the 10 people in Chikamatsu were pulled straight and looked like they were about to break. The half-closed Mangekyo Sharingan opened it completely. The patterns in his eyes were spinning crazily, and 2 tears of blood were shed from the corners of his eyes. His head shook, and his vision blurred for a moment. The left eye was particularly miserable and could no longer hold on, so I had to close my eyes to recover. Rumble. Susanoo, who was originally just a skeleton, received the blessing of pupil power and gradually appeared flesh and blood. He was put on armor, and a black scimitar appeared in Susanoo's hand. Sonorous. The scimitar struck down, and the chains that trapped Susanoo were cut off, and he was free again. A crack appeared in the ground, pointing in the direction of the Senju Rope Tree. Like a demon returning from hell, the target of Susanoo's attack was still the Senju Rope Tree. Senju Naoki has a doubt in his heart why Uchiha Mirror is like a mad dog and insists on killing him. The hatred between him and the Uchiha clan and Konoha, in terms of threat, should be far weaker than that of Sunagakure village. Hiding the doubts in his heart, the scene when Uchiha Mirror appeared in his mind. At first, he didn't want to kill him. No matter what, the best choice is to get rid of this dogskin plaster first and kill it. Chiyo, Ebizo, let me see your sincerity. Elder Tujian, prepare to take action. Senju glanced around the rope tree with a command in his tone. The other three nodded and stared closely at the Uchiha mirror in front of them. Want to find flaws? They were also surprised to find that all the movements of Uchiha mirror were directed towards the Senju Rope Tree. In other words, his goal from beginning to end was the Senju Rope Tree. This is a situation that none of the three would allow. The scimitar in Susanu's hand exuded a black aura and slashed in the air, leaving a blade of light. Uchiha mirrors a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan, one of which has closed its eyes, leaving only one Mangekyo that is holding on. Wood-style wooden golem no jutsu. Senju Naoki narrowed his eyes, with a hint of understanding on his face. Uchiha mirror, unknowingly, used a solidified eye jutsu of Mangekyo Sharingan. The left eye, which has almost lost its pupil power and visual field, is proof of this. The first time we met, there was no such strong murderous intention. But after a brief confrontation, Uchiha mirror now wants to deal with him and kill him. What made it change so much? Mangekyo Sharingan's solidified pupil technique gave Uchiha mirror a murderous intention. Auxiliary pupil technique. Is it the same as the old Toad Sage? Is it some kind of prediction technique? Did he have a premonition that he would cause harm to Konoha, so he was so entangled in wanting to kill him? Senju feels close to the truth. No need to think too much. Just take off the Uchiha mirror and everything will be answered. In this process, you need to protect yourself. At the foot of the Senju Rope Tree, the earth shook and a sapling sprouted. It soon grew into an adult shape, more than 10 meters tall, but only half of Susanu's height. The Senju Rope Tree stands above the wooden golem, facing off against the Uchiha mirror. The other three people had a clear understanding in their hearts that Senju was buying them time by exposing himself in this way. Wood-style, deep forest creation. Senju Doma has no reservations. Even if he despises Senju Hashirama in his heart, he is still learning his wood-style and restraining Susanu. Senju Hashirama's mini wood-style ninjutsu can play an unimaginable role when dealing with Susanu. Senju and Uchiha were the main opponents during the Warring States period and had a mature way of dealing with them. The earth roared, and giant trees rose up, blocking Susanu's face. If Susanu wants to move, he must cut down the trees. The roots of the tree wrap around the Susanu and absorb the energy in the Susanu. The Susanu gradually becomes transparent and tends to shrink. Senju Doma glared at Chiyo and Ebizo. Suzua Nung, whose defense has been weakened. It's your turn to take action. With a cold voice, I hope they can play a role. To deal with the Uchiha tribesmen who have Mangekyo Sharingan, someone must stand in front and bear the pupil technique solidified by Mangekyo Sharingan. The fixed-line Mangekyo pupil technique has a strange ability. He originally let Uchiha mirror go because he was afraid that the Senju Rope Tree would be harmed. Chiyo and Ebizo were the scapegoats in front of him. Senju Doma is sure to win. Chiyo and Ebizo looked at each other and nodded. Years of tacit understanding gave them a battle plan, and they were also aware of a hint of danger. With Senju Doma's ability, he can suppress him in the battle with Uchiha mirror. If he wants to cooperate with him, he must take into account Mangekyo Sharingan's pupil technique. 10 people in Chikamatsu collapsed. Number 4, Number 6, and Number 9, 3 puppets, walked through with style and came to Susanu. Like a blood-sucking insect, it stuck to the surface of Susanu. The position of the chest, the position of the palms, and the position of the mouth. The 3 puppets used different methods to absorb Susanu's power. Click. Susanu, who was originally suppressed by wood style and almost transparent, appeared cracks on his body. Ebizo received the signal from his sister and rushed out. Every step he took left a deep hole under his feet. He took out a stick from his back, turned it into an afterimage, and reached the weak point of Susanu that had been sucked out by Chiyo. Bang, bang, bang. The stick in Ebizo's hand pulled out beautiful stick flowers and struck them on Susanu. There were 3 holes in a line on Susanu's left leg, crotch, and back. Uchiha Jing's face became more and more ugly, and he wanted to fight back, but was restrained by wood style and Chikamatsu 10 people. The black scimitar in his hand caught Ebizo's figure and pursued him. Few Ebizo retreated in front of the Chikamatsu 10 people and was protected by puppets number 1 and number 2. Click, the 2 puppets turned into pieces under the heavy blow, and Chiyo's eyes showed a hint of distress. The Chikamatsu 10 are also known as the Kono 10. Their initial function is to protect the fragile puppet master, and their most powerful ability is precisely defense. It was actually shattered by Susanu's blow. So violent. While being shocked by Susanu's power, He looked at Senju Doma, who was not trying his best. Chapter 55. Fortunately, Ebizo himself is a master of physical skills and is extremely flexible. He can shuttle through with style and return behind Chiyo. Uchiha Kagami wanted to activate the Mangekyo Sharingan to make Susanoo complete, but was disturbed by with style and the ability of the Chikamatsu Tin to absorb energy. Chakra and eye power cannot spread throughout Susanoo. A trace of determination flashed in Chiyo's eyes, and in order to prove his sincerity, he threw out a scroll. Waves of smoke surrounded. The puppets that the two had originally hidden appeared on the ground, a sand crab and a scorpion, as well as a lizard puppet that they had never seen before. The three animal puppets rushed towards Susanoo's crack at a very fast speed and got in. Boom, boom, boom. Start self-exposure directly. After turning into fragments, black and purple smoke eroded the entire Susanoo. The thing I'm best at is poison. Chiyo stepped back a few steps, raised one hand to cover his face, and said pointedly, as if he was offering a reward to the Senju Rope Tree. This toxin specifically targets the energy body. The entire Susanoo, under the influence of several forces, could no longer hold on. Before collapse, Susanoo spit out black energy bombs from his mouth and shattered the wooden golem at the foot of the Senju Rope Tree. What exactly are you waiting for? Senju Rope Tree turned over in the air, frowned, and fell to the ground, dusting himself off. Ignoring Chiyo, a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. Uchiha Mirror's strength shouldn't be so weak. He is hiding the pupil technique in his eyes. Or is it that this kind of pupil technique has no bonus to his strength? The last attack seemed to be a desperate attempt to achieve his goal, but the real target was the wooden golem at the foot of the Senju Rope Tree. Snap! Uchiha Mirror's body fell from midair and fell to the ground without any obstruction, causing a burst of smoke and dust. It seemed that he no longer had any ability to resist, and pools of blood spread on the ground. Senju Naoki gave Senju Doma a look and asked him to remove with style. Chiyo and Ebizo quietly looked at the dying Uchiha Mirror. Is it over? I always feel like something is wrong. The surrounding environment lost the cover of with style trees and became as flat as the Gobi Desert. Senju Rope Tree walked step by step towards the location of the Uchiha Mirror. Until he got close to Uchiha Mirror's body lying on the ground, he didn't encounter any danger or anything unusual. Senju Naoki grabbed Uchiha Mirror's body and turned it over. Suddenly, Uchiha's right eye was wide open, and the Mangekyo Sharingan pattern in the eye rotated crazily until it turned turbid white and completely lost its light. Senju's body was frozen in place, like a puppet. Senju Rookie, you are Konoha's greatest loyalist. Please return to Konoha, continue to dedicate everything to Konoha, practice your will of fire. Even if you sacrifice your own life, you must protect Konoha. Uchiha closed his eyes and was still mumbling, giving orders to the Senju Rope Tree. The aura on Uchiha Jing's body also began to decline until it lost its aura. Chiyo, who was standing aside, had a fluctuation in his eyes and looked at Senju, who was frozen in place. This is stepping into the trap set by Uchiha Mirror. Before dying, Uchiha Mirror activates the solidifying pupil technique in his eyes. Senju Rope Tree, but there is something he wants. We must not let anything happen to him. With a slight movement of his fingers, the chakra line manipulated the 10 people on the ground at number 1 Chikamatsu, turning them into a black puppet snake. Swaying on the ground, it shot in the direction of the Senju Rope Tree, wrapped around his body, and dragged him in front of him. Creaking, creaking, the body of Senju Rope Tree, entangled by the puppet snake, changes. There was a sound of broken branches, and the Senju Rope Tree's body was strangled by the puppet snake, turning into a puppet that looked similar to the Senju Rope Tree. Substitute technique? No, it is the art of wood clone. Chiyo exclaimed in a low voice. A different color flashed in his eyes. When I saw the wooden golem entangled by the puppet, I immediately thought it was a commonly used substitute technique in Konoha. However, if you look closely, you will find that this is the wood clone technique in the wood style. Is Senju Rope Tree better after all? He raised his head to look for the true form of Senju Soju, and finally saw the figure behind Senju Doma. From beginning to end, Senju Rope Tree uses wood clone to control the changes on the entire battlefield. Its body is always behind Senju Doma. As Uchiha Shirsue's direct ancestor, Mangekyo Sharingan's pupil technique, Senju Rope Tree has long been prevented. From the Mangekyo Sharingan of Uchiha Fugaku, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Sasuke, it can be deduced that the art of Mangekyo Sharingan is directly related to each other. Mangekyo Sharingan is also the eye of spiritual reflection. These loyal dogs of Konoha will inevitably have a twisted will of fire. Even if there is a 1 in 10,000 chance, Senju Roden will not take risks. To deal with Mangekyo Sharingan, Hatake Kakashi gave a good solution, which is the clone technique. In the original work, the shadow clone technique is used to avoid Mangekyo Sharingan's Tsukuyami technique. Senju Rope Tree only has such an action. Until this moment, Chiyo was still not sure whether the Senju Rope Tree in front of him was a clone or the original body. Senju Naoki came from behind Senju Doma, came to Chiyo, and threw him a scroll. Here, your reward. Senju had a warm smile on her face, and her heart was full of expectations. Use the Uchiha mirror to awaken Mangekyo Sharingan's bloodline to replenish yourself, and you will surely be restored to integrity. Chiyo was shrouded in a chill, as if facing a hunting beast. The Senju Rope Tree in front of him did not look like a human being. She also understands that her and Ebizo's role is to be cannon fodder to prevent various accidents. He took the scroll, which was part of the art of reincarnation from the dirty soil, and carefully preserved it. She at least got what she wanted. Chapter 56. Senju Rope Tree placed a hand on Wood Clone's head, merging the memories in it. Squint your eyes and feel the Mangekyo Sharingan power of the Uchiha mirror. The ability of the left eye is similar to the Great Toad Sage's ability to predict the future and deduce what may happen next based on valid intelligence. After coming into contact with me, he deduced that I might cause great harm to Konoha, or even destroy Konoha, so he bit so hard and wanted to kill me. The reason why I was deceived was because the left eye had already deduced that I needed his body. The ability of the right eye, similar to distinguished heavenly gods, can change a person's will. Mangekyo Sharingan is truly the eye of the soul. Uchiha Keiru's life was spent pursuing the integration of the Uchiha clan into Konoha, trying to find a perfect path, but he could not find it until his death. He devoted his whole life to protecting Konoha, but he was helpless to let Konoha endure the war. The ability of Mangekyo Sharingan was also born for this reason. The left eye sees the future clearly, and the right eye clears obstacles. Senju read the memory in the clone, understood Uchiha's ability to mirror eyes, and solved the doubts in his heart. Understand why Uchiha Kagami chases after him and kills him even if he sacrifices himself. This is called fate again. But such ability is too idealistic. When Uchiha Mirror makes a decision, the future has already changed. If Uchiha Mirror hadn't come after him, he wouldn't have died here. Senju Rope Tree, from which you can feel the purpose of this world. It's like entering a trap and being surrounded by spider threads. At first, these spider threads are just a little disgusting and sticky. As more and more spider threads gather, the stronger the condensed power becomes. The Senju Rope Tree will become prey without resistance. The inner desire to become stronger became even stronger. You are indeed a loyal dog of Konoha, but that's it for now. Your power will eventually become Konoha's poison. The wood clone in Senju's hand turned into powder. Looking at the body of Uchiha Mirror that was hung up by Senju Doma using with style, he was afraid that there were other traps in it. After several rounds of inspection, it turned into a human cocoon woven with vines and sealed. The remains of the wood clone turned into dust and dissipated in the wind. Senju thought for a long time and calmed down his mood. A series of his own experiences appeared in his mind. When he left Konoha, the soul of Senju Hashirama, Azura, appeared and wanted to stop him. Then Jiraiya suddenly appeared, and now the Uchiha Mirror. Behind all this, there is a force controlling it. Senju Rope Tree had to be cautious and must strengthen its strength as soon as possible, at least not to be defeated by this kind of chicken and dog and become the prey of others. As long as you are strong, you can resist the fate set by the mastermind behind this world. If it's surrounded by cobwebs, burn it. He exhaled a breath of air to clear away the chaotic thoughts in his mind. The death of Uchiha Kagami will arouse vigilance in Konoha, and it will also be the clarion call for the battle between Sunagakure Village and Konoha Hidden Village. 3 Jonin from the Sarutobi clan, and 3 groups from the Inakacho clan. Take their bodies, come exchange the remaining 2 parts for the art of reincarnation. Senju looked at Chiyo aside and said without any doubt. After saying that, he left instantly to complete his evolution. Chiyo was left confused. The feeling the Senju Rope Tree gave him just now was particularly dark, like a hyena scavenging in the wild. Chiyo put on the mask again, hiding his figure, and looked at Senju Naoki and Senju Doma who had left. Senju Rope Tree uses such a powerful forbidden technique in exchange for the corpses of several people. There was a moment of doubt in my mind, and I turned around and was abandoned by him. The most important thing now is to obtain the art of reincarnation from dirty soil. A series of problems still need to be solved in order to resurrect his son and daughter-in-law in this world. A trace of determination flashed in Chiyo's eyes, and no one could stop her. Killing her enemies and saving her loved ones is exactly what she wants. Not even the second-generation Kazekage Samama can stop her. Ebizo on the side came to Chiyo and patted her shoulder without saying anything. We will support Senju Rope Tree without reservation, just like Senju Doma. Ebizo also supports Chiyo wholeheartedly, even if it goes against the interests of Sunagakure village. At this time, their target is no longer just the territory of the kingdom of Sichuan. Inside a huge tree hole, Senju Rope Tree calmed down his mood and prepared to complete the bloodline replenishment this time. Awakening Mangekyo Sharingan's Uchiha mirror can at least transform his immortal body. Outside the tree hole, Senju Doma was still worried and used various means to conduct various tests while keeping Uchiha Kagami's body intact. Until the end, it can be determined that Uchiha Mirror has completely died and his soul has gone to the Pure Land. Only then can he hand over the materials to Senju Rope Tree with peace of mind. Elder Tujin, there is no need to be so careful. Senju Nasha chuckled and shook his head, watching everything happen without stopping what Senju Toju did. There was a warmth of concern. After many experiments, his power has been strengthened to the greatest extent in his soul space, which can span at least 3 levels. Even if the Uchiha Mirror enters his soul space alive, it will not harm him. Just like when he was a genin, he could destroy the souls of Jonin-level ninjas, and he was also a member of the Yamanaka clan who was good at soul attacks. Clan leader, be careful. The Genjutsu of the Uchiha clan are particularly troublesome. There is an ability called transliteration, which can seal the pupil technique in the eyes of others, even in the bodies of psychic beasts. To fight against the Uchiha clan, you must fight with more than you have, and you must use any means necessary. This is a rare consensus that Senju Tobirama and I have reached. You can improve your strength with peace of mind. I will protect you from the outside. Senju Dojian held a human cocoon wrapped in vines in his hand, and gave gentle instructions in a gentle voice, as if he wanted to impart all his life experiences to Senju Rope Tree. In this battle, Senju showed enough wisdom, but at some points, he was still too extreme. There is an urgency to prove yourself, an urgency to improve your strength. Senju Doma cannot understand the current sense of crisis in Senju Nizuki. In his heart, the current Senju clan is enough to securely establish a foothold in the entire ninja world. There is no need for Senju Rope Tree to improve itself so radically. Elder Tujian, thank you for your teaching. Senju was not impatient and responded with a smile. Although the names of the two have changed, their relationship is still like that of grandfather and grandson. In the heart of Senju Soju, Senju Doma is far more kind than the cheating Senju Tobirama and Senju Hashirama. Taking the remains of the Uchiha mirror in his hand, he did not shy away from the Senju Doma in front of him and absorbed it into his soul. Space. Chapter 57. Clan Leader, you can rest assured and improve your strength. The Senju clan and I will always be behind you. Senju Doma turned around. As an elder and guardian, he was moved by Senju Noboru's unabashed trust. Everyone has their own secrets, especially as a leader. You should not show all your secrets in front of your subordinates. As if taking an oath, Senju Doma finished speaking and left the wooden cave. Senju Rope Tree uses with style to seal the hole. The body entered a dozen meters underground. The spiritual body enters its own soul space. Entering the familiar soul space, I felt a sense of comfort. In the center was a PCR instrument composed of 3 illusory and simple induction cookers, the embodiment of the bloodline complement system. Above the first induction cooker is the corpse of Uchiha Kagami. Decomposition, quenching chain. Senju Rope Tree no longer stops. Press the button, and the bloodline complement system starts to operate. 3 machines as crude as an induction cooker play their role. The first one dissolves all the materials and screens them for useful gene fragments and special energy. The second quenching machine brings out the essence and is more suitable for general use. Channel 3 integrates the essence. The buzzing sound puts the entire soul space in a state of vibration, making his soul pure and eliminating all impurities. The corpse of the Uchiha mirror begins to melt, take shape, and quench the essence within it. Several groups of essences, shining with various colors of light, reflected in the eyes of Senju Rope Tree. Among them, red and black are the most attractive to Senju Rope Tree, and the body feels a longing. Red is the essence of Mangekyo Sharingan and black is the essence of Yin Chakra. Senju Rope Tree stepped forward, took the initiative to enter the last machine, and used the power of the system to integrate the essence into his body. Ah! A scream came from his mouth. This was different from what Senju had expected. It was not as comfortable as expected, but rather a kind of torture. It was like a crusher, crushing his body, then reorganizing it, crushing it again, and reorganizing it again. In the process of crushing again and again, various essences are incorporated. The cycle goes back and forth. After an unknown period of time, Senju Rope Tree has adapted to this kind of torture and feels numb. Stay awake until the essence is exhausted. Fusion completed. Senju Rope Tree finally came to his senses. Raise your head, summon the bloodline completion system panel, check your own attributes, and have a more intuitive feeling. Name, Senju Rope Tree, attributes. Yang attribute, high. Yin attribute, high. Wind attribute, medium. Earth attribute, medium. Water attribute, medium. Fire attribute, medium. Thunder attribute, medium. Class, planetary advanced life form. Chakra 35789 bloodline. Advanced immortal human body. Blood succession limit. Advanced with style. 3 Magatama Sharingan skills. With style advanced. 3 body technique. Intermediate. Ninja tool throwing technique. Beginner. Basic taijutsu. Beginner. Earth ninjutsu. Beginner. Water ninjutsu. Beginner. Wind ninjutsu. Beginner. Passive. Scientific research acumen. Advanced. Senju Naoki frowned, not satisfied with this. Above the advanced level are the levels? 5 chakra attributes, only the intermediate level, the threshold of Jonin. With his current ability, if his enemy were Konoha and the 5 major ninja nations, he could easily deal with it. But it already involves Indra and Ajura, and even the level of Sage of 6 Paths is far from enough. Without the jump he imagined, only a few small changes, could his body be restored? The first change is that the Yin and Yang attributes become advanced, the level of shadow mastery. The second change is that the amount of chakra becomes more than 30,000. After this period of measurement, 10,000 is the threshold, which is roughly what a shadow looks like. But he belongs to the Senju clan and has a huge amount of natural chakra. The amount of chakra of a shadow must exceed 10,000, but the amount of chakra exceeding 10,000 is not necessarily a shadow. The third change, advanced fairy body, advanced with style, 3 Magatama Sharingan, 3 special abilities. Senju Rope Tree secretly blamed himself for being a little too eager. His strength has improved a lot. He smiled bitterly. It was because his enemies were too powerful and he had set his goals too high that he was dissatisfied with the present. He noticed that the class was a higher planet creature and guessed that the Sage of 6 Paths and the Otsutsuki clan, who could cross the stars, should transcend this level. Comfort yourself in your heart. The current situation, whether it is Ajura, Indra, or even Sage of 6 Paths, will not end anytime soon. His power is enough for the time being, as long as he doesn't touch certain bottom lines. Let's get rid of the troubles of Konoha and Mount Mayaboku first. There is room and time for growth. If you really can't do it, you can only stay in bed, but that's not Senju's style. Looking at his current strength and his position in the ninja world, except for those directly from the Otsutsuki clan, he is already at the top. His original strength included with style, his own ninja will, super strong chakra, and secret information, which was equivalent to an enhanced version of Yamato. He had just touched the edge of the shadow, so he was cautious when facing the Uchiha mirror. The current strength on paper far exceeds that of ordinary Kage, and can be compared with Senju Tobirama, but may not be as good as Senju Hashirama, enough to face a ninja village. But when it comes to combat, attribute restraint, and various mouth escapes, various accidents will happen. Also need to be careful. Senju no longer struggles with the rope tree, leaves the soul space, and returns to his body. Feeling the changes in the body, a numb feeling came. There was a feeling of swelling in the original right arm and legs. When I looked down, I saw that the intact skin had bulges growing inside, trying to puncture the skin. Senju Naoshu was heartbroken. This is a body that has grown up. If you want to be whole again, you must break it down and stand up again. Just like a twisted and long bone, if you want to straighten it, you must withstand breaking it again. His left hand was covered with a layer of light blue chakra scalpel, and he cut his right arm and legs, making a flat incision. No blood flowed from the wound, and bones, fascia, and flesh grew out quickly. In a few minutes, the small right arm and legs grew, and in another 10 minutes, they were restored to full size. Senju looked at his body. The newly grown skin was a little delicate, but other than that there was no difference. His body finally became complete, and his heart was filled with joy. In addition to the excitement, there was a resonance, leaking energy, feeding the giant tree above the head. The body is integrated with the entire ground, the trees above the head, and the entire environment. able to control trees thousands of meters around. Chapter 58. Is this advanced with style? I don't know how many levels better than before. No wonder it is said that first generation with style conquers the world, and Yamado with style promotes greening. With my current with style, I have no problem beating a country. Senju Naoki has some concerns. His current with style ability is at the same level as Senju Doma, but still not as good as Senju Hashirama. Konoha no longer poses a threat to him, and those who once wanted to kill him should pay the price. Click click. The roots tumbled in the soil, pushing the Senju Rope Tree to the ground. Elder Tujin, I'm sorry to trouble you. Senju Naoki glanced around, and his eyes fell on Senju Doma. On his body, I felt tired and unkempt. Obviously, he had been guarding here for such a long time. The two of them have the same aura, not just because of the wood style. Senju Doma's wood style was awakened by the Senju Rope Tree. Rose Tree, your body has recovered. Senju Doma felt the change in the environment and waited outside early. He saw the changes in Senju Rope Tree at the first glance. He also mastered wood style and felt that the arms and legs of Senju Rope Tree in front of him were no longer the prosthetic limbs transformed by wood style before, but real flesh and blood. Body. His eyes were full of joy, and he felt happy for Senju. Elder Tujin, as you can see, my body has recovered. It has been a hard time. How long have I been practicing? Did something happen on the battlefield? Senju nodded in response with a smile and asked, I don't know how long it took to evolve in the soul space. You have been practicing for 10 days, and the war between Konoha and Sunagakure village is still going on. During this period of time, Chiyo has been waging a war crazily, and has gotten what you want, requesting to meet with us. However, this war may not be able to continue, and the daimyo of the Fire Country and the Wind Country will mediate. Second generation Kazekage Samana has long wanted to quit. Senju Doma frowned, with some worry in his tone. It was not in the interest of the Senju clan to end the war at this time. Daimyo? Senju asked softly, unable to conceal his doubts. How could a daimyo mediate so easily in a conflict of interests? Chiyo's movements were a little too quick. These questions were thrown away in an instant. The important thing now is to continue to improve his strength. In terms of his attributes, there are 5 attributes of wind, fire, thunder, water, and earth, but they are still only intermediate, which makes him still feel a sense of insecurity in his heart. Analyzing the situation on the battlefield in his mind, it should not happen like what Senju Doma said. There must be some secrets that he doesn't know about. A truce. It's not that easy. The war has begun. Even if these 2 countries want to stop, the other 5 ninja villages will not allow it. Senju shook his head and looked into the distance. The entire Rain Country has once again become a battlefield where the great powers of the ninja world are wreaking havoc. Behind this, it is just the redistribution of interests among the 5 major ninja villages. The Country of Wind and the Country of Fire, the 2 countries have reached a distribution plan, and they have to ask other countries if they are willing. Once the flames of war are started, it is difficult to extinguish them. Until the excess ninjas are consumed and the resources of the ninja world are redistributed according to the strength of each ninja village, all countries will not be able to persist. Konoha now is just a big piece of fat. If you take the initiative to give Sand Hidden Village a bite, other shinobi villages will also be attracted. So when Senju Nashu heard the news, he felt ridiculous. Rose Tree, there is news from the family that some nobles from the Fire Country and nobles from other countries are jointly targeting the Senju family. The money and resources in the family cannot be circulated at all, and other materials purchased are often several times the normal value. This situation is extremely abnormal. Senju Tsukuma approached, his voice full of worry, expressing his doubts. He just sensed that this situation was abnormal, but he didn't know where the source came from. From the Warring States period to today's ninja village and the Ninja Kingdom United model, many things have not been thoroughly studied. Even if they use the currency jointly issued by the 5 major ninja countries, they still don't realize that they are being controlled. This is also a powerful force. In some cases, it works better than ninjutsu. This is related to the Kingdom of Tian. After the last disaster, the upper-class nobles and daimyo of the Kingdom of Tian were reduced to refugees, and the country was on the verge of destruction. The 5 major ninja countries and other small countries, especially the nobles and daimyo, are full of fear of the Senju clan. This made them aware of the crisis. Using the rules in hand to suppress the Senju clan was within my expectations, but they are also too courageous, and there must be support from the ninja village behind them. Let the family be patient for the time being and settle things on the battlefield first. Konoha should pay the price for what he did. Senju narrowed his eyes and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. This was within his expectation. When the Senju clan shocked the entire ninja world, some people would feel threatened. The makers of the rules, who are aloof, doubt whether the power in their hands can control the out-of-control ninja. He will use various means to suppress them, make the Senju clan surrender, become a member of them, and enhance their own strength. The Senju Rope Tree, which anticipated this outcome, allowed the Senju clan to leave Konoha early and become part of the nobility, making this backlash less violent. The only unexpected thing is that this kind of suppression came too quickly. Someone should be the one pulling the strings, probably Hiruzen Sarutobi. As long as Konoha is dealt with, this pressure can be relieved. If you really want to solve it, you must be able to confront the entire world's monetary system. The original 5 major ninja countries used money and resources to control ninja villages and the entire ninja world. Even if a war breaks out in the ninja world, they will still remain the rulers. This is related to another plan of Senju Rope Tree. He has already been planning to control the gold exchange through precious metals and chakra essence, affecting the monetary system and resource distribution system of the entire world. This requires obtaining enough chakra essence on the battlefield, which is the dead man. Looking into the distance, a battle was breaking out there. The Sarutobi clan and Konoha should pay the price for what they have done. At first, I was still hesitating whether I should go back to live in Konoha and tidy up Konoha, but now I have the answer. If you have the ability to build an independent country, establish a unity, and completely obey your own political power, why should you go to the quagmire of Konoha? He will not make the mistake of Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama and become the person he despises in his heart. The Fire Nation is only a temporary habitat for the Senju Rope Tree. Chapter 59. After a few minutes, Senju Naoki and Senju Doma came to the battlefield. Hide your figure and observe the changes on the battlefield. On one side are the Konoha ninjas led by Orochimaru, and on the other side are the Sunagakure ninjas led by Chiyo. The fighting methods of the two sides are completely different. Konoha, on the other hand, is taking the route of cultivating a large number of ninjas. Most of them are cannon fodder charging in front, throwing various ninja tools, using only low-level ninjutsu, and then they have no ability to resist. Sunagakure village is taking the route of cultivating elite ninjas, able to control puppets and replace cannon fodder. Chiyo takes the lead, controls the puppets, and controls the entire front. One person is a small army. No wonder his prestige in Sunagakure village is so high. It is in sharp contrast to Konoha Hidden Village. After a battle, Konoha lost a lot of cannon fodder, and the family ninjas were slightly injured. The damage to the puppets in Sand Hidden Village only caused a shortage of funds and resources. Originally, both sides should have ended the war here. But Chiyo's real goal is to become a family ninja in Konoha Ninja Village. Especially the ninjas of the Sarutobi clan and the Inarakacho clan. This is the price that the Senju Rope Tree requires. Chiyo seems to be completely red-eyed, but it's the so-called unspoken rules of the battlefield. Konoha seems to allow this unspoken rule to happen. Senju shook his head. Things like ninjas are indeed consumables. Naoju, why is this battle so childish? Senju Dojian stood aside and said angrily, frowning, always feeling that there was something awkward about it. There is no strategy at all. Child's play? You're just acting for us. Senju carefully observed the entire battlefield, especially where Chiyo was. He seems crazy, he seems to be venting, but he always restrains himself. If he had followed his usual style and used the poison technique that he was good at, Konoha's troops would have been wiped out long ago. The other participants, also unusual, are the ninjas of Sunagakure and Orochimaru. Miraculously, none of the ninjas in Sunagakure village died. Once someone was injured, Ebizo would show up and take him away from the battlefield. Orochimaru, whom he was familiar with, turned a blind eye to the entire battlefield. Among the Konoha ninjas, there is fraud in the identity of the family ninja. Except for a few obvious ones like myself, there are ninjas from the Sarutobi clan and the Inagacho clan who were once classmates in the ninja school. The others were civilian ninjas, pretending to be ninjas from the Sarutobi clan and the Inarakacho clan. Acting, Senju Tujian understood something in his heart and looked towards the edge of the battlefield not far away. All the ninjutsu and ninja tools that fell there miraculously disappeared. Chiyo has other thoughts. I can use the Earth reincarnation as bait, but I am not the only one who has this bait. We and Konoha have a large portion of common assets, including the forbidden arts developed by Senju Tobirama and the sealing techniques of the Uzumaki clan. To be able to change Chiyo like this, Konoha should have reincarnated the complete filth. Senju said with a smile. Manipulate the wood clone to explore the entire battlefield in detail and discover that powerful ninjas are ambushing you, ready to fight at any time. Who is the ambush? You need to think carefully. In this way, the irrationality on the previous battlefield can be explained. They reached a tacit understanding in some respects. The traces on the battlefield also illustrate all this. After fighting for so long, there has been no change in the battle line. This is a trap for us. Senju Dojian realized in an instant that he was putting on such a big show to ambush Senju Nashu and him. No wonder Chiyo collected what Senju wanted at such a fast speed and asked for a meeting. Whether or not what Senju Rope Tree wants exists or not is now a question. Shaking his head secretly, Sunagakure village and the entire ninja world always put interests first. Sometimes giving too much is a kind of hatred. Shine village always fears power but not virtue. Always want to swing between the two sides of the forces to obtain the greatest benefits. They have forgotten that the conditions given to them by the Senju clan are already very favorable, such as the price of food. Sunagakure village does not want to be controlled by the Senju clan and wants to pursue maximum harvest. The two villages cooperated because they had a common goal, the Senju clan. Then, are we still showing up? Senju Dojian asked. The person hidden among the barriers is Uchiha Onzan, the great elder of the Uchiha clan. A combination of elders from the Sarutobi clan and the Inarakacho clan. Second generation Kazekage Samama. Orochimaru, Chiyo, and Ebizo. Such strength is quite luxurious, but that's all. You come to plunder the formation, and I'll come to hunt. Senju Rope Tree squinted his eyes, showing no fear in his heart and a sense of eagerness to try. Although its style reappeared in the world, it did not show its due power and dominance at the time. That's why there are people who want to plot against them. This battle is an opportunity. Follow the footsteps of the patriarch. Senju Dojian nodded heavily, his eyes full of seriousness. During this time, although the Senju clan gained their due benefits and status, but all of this was based on compromises between all parties, using some means to intimidate the young people and never fought head-on. The benefits and achievements achieved across the board and across the country require strong strength to protect them. Now it's time for the Senju clan to reappear in the ninja world. Rumble, the earth shook, and ravines appeared. The ninjas on both sides who were fighting stopped what they were doing to keep their balance and prevent themselves from falling. He raised his head and looked at this surprising scene. An extremely huge cyan wooden golem, nearly 100 meters long, appeared on the edge of the battlefield. Blocking the sunlight made their eyes a little dim, and there was a fear of being targeted by beasts. Just standing there gave people a strong sense of oppression, making it difficult to breathe. The commanders of both sides looked at this behemoth. Those who had seen tailed beasts could not hide the shock on their faces. This kind of momentum and size had surpassed tailed beasts and surpassed giant psychic beasts. The height of tailed beasts changes according to combat needs. They are energy bodies. Nine Tails has appeared several times. When it is complete, it is 100 meters tall when controlled by Uchiha Madara. Nine Tails is 70 meters tall at night. When Naruto is fully channeled, it is about 50 meters tall, with only half of the yang attribute chakra. Rope Tree. Orochimaru raised his head and saw the figure standing above the wooden golem. Senju Rope Tree. Chiyo raised his head and prepared for a backstab, his voice trembling, and he doubted his decision for a moment. Recalling the battle with Uchiha Mirror, Senju showed little strength. With Sarutobi Hiruzen's promise, he once again confirmed his choice. Their hidden power will surely kill the Senju Rope Tree. Then the war can end here, and she can get what she wants. Sunagakure village received part of the resources of Koanaguni and the resources controlled by the Senju clan after the partition of Konoha. The enemy of his son and daughter-in-law, Hatake Sakumo, will also become a peace bargaining chip and be abandoned by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Konoha had already given him the complete technique of reincarnation in the Dirty Land. This is the way to maximize benefits. All it takes is the Senju Rope Tree to die. Chapter 60. Senju Rookie, the traitor of Konoha, how dare you join forces with Sunagakure village and ambush us? Senju Naoki was once a classmate in the ninja school, trembling and scolding. These people's impression of the Senju Rope Tree was still in the ninja school. At that time, Senju, as the largest clan in Konoha, had an extremely friendly attitude toward them, which was indeed a sign of weakness in their hearts. Some people have a superficial relationship with the Senju Rope Tree. Being able to appear on this battlefield is also because of Konoha's distrust of them. Senju Rope Tree, have you forgotten the will of fire? You have betrayed the heroic spirit of the Senju clan throughout the ages. It was like an introduction, igniting the dissatisfaction of the ninjas of Konoha towards the Senju Rope Tree. Among them, I have to mention the contribution of Sarutobi Hiruzen, who put all the faults for the outbreak of the war on Senju Nezuki. These people still thought that Senju Shengshu was the silly and sweet person she used to be. Only then did the fear in their hearts dissipate a little, and they had the courage to refute. Konoha's united momentum dissipated some of the pressure created by Senju Nawaki. The Senju Rope Tree can only reap its own fruits. The image of an idiot once made these Konoha ninjas not afraid at all. It's time to change this image. Our ally, the low-level ninja from Hidden Sand Village, had no idea. Neither Orochimaru nor Chiyo expected this situation. What gave these people the courage to accuse such a powerful Senju Rope Tree? My heart suddenly felt ridiculous. Even they don't dare to underestimate the Senju Rope Tree. I have prepared the corpses of the Senju Nawaki, the Sarutobi clan, and the Inakacho clan. Kill them all together and end our deal. Chiyo pretended to be calm and wanted to gain trust. His voice spread throughout the battlefield, convicting Senju Nawaki of colluding with Sunagakure village. The chakra thread on the finger has already been tightened, ready to attack at any time. On the other hand, Orochimaru's eyes were full of pity, and he wanted to open his mouth. Such small movements are all captured by the Senju Rope Tree. A group of people who don't know whether to live or die. Talk to them, and give up your breath. Wood style, deep forest creation. Senju Rope Tree has no nonsense. In the face of absolutely powerful power, all conspiracies are of no avail. Those who have betrayed him should be punished accordingly. Rumble. There was a loud bang. The wooden golem at his feet, with his hands on the ground. In the center of the battlefield, a giant tree without branches sprouted from the ground, with a pink flower as big as 7 or 8 people in bud. At the root position, a crack spreads around the battlefield like a spider web. The battlefield was suddenly shaken, and bottomless chasms appeared. Most of the ninjas screamed in horror and fell into the crack, not knowing whether they were alive or dead. Only then did they realize that the Senju Rope Tree controlled their lives. I wanted to beg for mercy, but I couldn't make a sound and was buried. A small number of ninjas were left, using the skills of treading water and climbing trees, to stand on the fragments that had been split by tree roots. His body was shaky, and he might die at any time. His heart was full of despair, and he was shocked by the earthquake in front of him. In the cracks, tree roots broke through the soil and rocks, like devouring lion majesty, hunting the remaining ninjas. Throughout the battlefield, tree roots burst out of the ground, and the giant tree that started as a tree spawned a dense forest, dozens of meters high, making it impossible for the ninjas in it to communicate with each other. Senju Rope Tree, what are you doing? Why are you attacking us? Chiyo was guarded by 10 Chikamatsu people, with a stone platform formed by earth style at his feet, and he shouted at the Senju Rope Tree. His eyes were full of anger, and he looked like he was going to fight the Senju Rope Tree. At this time, she was already considering whether to fall towards the Senju Rope Tree again. The original Senju Rope Tree did not have this kind of strength. Come out. No need to hide anymore. Senju shook his head, not giving her a chance, and looked at the barriers on the battlefield. Boom. A huge explosion. It seems to be in response to Senju's words. Magnet-style rolling sand waves. The golden sand flows in the sea of trees, cutting out a small battlefield. He wanted to continue to invade the tree world and save the ninjas of Sunagakure village on the battlefield, but he couldn't make any progress. Second-generation Kazekage Samama, standing at the top of the sand sea, with a gloomy face. Looking at the battlefield that has been covered by a sea of trees, there are only a few ninjas in Sunagakure village surviving. Kazekage, deal with the enemy in front of you first. He is the most dangerous existence. The great elder of the Sarutobi clan had eyes full of resentment. If it weren't for the disobedience of the Senju Rope Tree, the Sarutobi clan would have continued to hide in the darkness and grow up, instead of being spurned by the entire ninja world and recognizing their true colors. Remember your promise. Second generation watched Kazekage calm down the sad look on his face. Chiyo, Ebizo, and Orochimaru, the only remaining people, also came to second generation's Kazekage. Fighting against the Senju Rope Tree alone made them feel insecure, leaving shock and fear deep in their hearts. The strength of the Senju Rope Tree was countless times stronger than they expected. Be careful, his level of wood style is not as good as First Hokage, but it should not be underestimated. The great elder of the Uchiha clan, whose eyes turned into 3 Magatama Sharingan, spoke as a reminder. This group of people banded together enough to start a small war. still trying to resist the Senju Rope Tree, and even have the idea of winning. The entire ninja world seems to have long forgotten the power of the first-generation Hokage with style. According to the records of their clan, the first Hokage's with style is enough to easily suppress the nine-tailed beasts. He raised his head and looked at the 100-meter giant, and suddenly the pressure came on him. There was a moment of doubt in his heart. Can these people really fight against the Senju Rope Tree if they join forces? Everyone's body was shaken, and some people even wanted to quit. With style Senju. Kabuto no Jutsu. The corners of Senju's mouth curled up slightly unconsciously. The gathering of these enemies gave him the opportunity to catch them all in one fell swoop. Chakra hooks the wooden golem at his feet and puts his hands together. Click. Behind the wooden golem, arms that are more than 40 meters long grow out, with the thumbs clasped inwards and the four fingers aligned, forming the shape of a screen, just like the Senju Guanyin in the temple. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 61. Boom. Boom. The Great Elder of the Uchiha clan. Not good. Second-generation Kazekage raised his head and formed a seal with his hands. Magnet-style iron wall. Earth-style dungeon hall. Fire-style fire bullets. Water-style water barrier. The eyes of the alliance between Konoha and Sunagakure village were full of fear. When Senju Rope Trees are serious, they give up their thoughts. It is impossible to be an enemy. They all use their own defense ninjutsu and teleportation skills to get out of the Senju Rope Tree's attack range. They all had thoughts of escaping from the battlefield. However, the deep forest creation of Senju Rope Tree is like a giant net, trapping them in it and fixing it within a certain range. Only at this moment did they realize that they were never hunters, but prey. There was a loud bang. Every palm of wooden golem leaves a deep pit in the ground, which is more than 10 meters long. Whether it is the magnet style or the 5 attribute escape techniques, the defensive ninjutsu formed is vulnerable to a single blow. Pop pop, the sound is endless. The elders of the Sarutobi clan and the Inakacho clan turned into corpses and were collected by the Senju Rope Tree. These are all good materials, so we can't give them up. Orochimaru and the elders of the Uchiha clan had studied with Style's attack methods and hid deep underground to escape this attack. The sand-hidden village side, the second-generation Kazekage Samama, relied on the special force field formed by Magnet Style and used all their strength to prevent Chiyo and Ebizo from being seriously injured. Sha Ming vomited blood, his eyes filled with shock. He recalled what Senju said and felt humiliated. Big P asterisk asterisk SY, the words that I thought were novel at first turned out to be insulting. The continuous slaps from the giant wooden golem reminded him of the attacks on women when they acted out. Simple and direct, yet extremely powerful. Magnet style, wind escape, puppet technique, earth style. The fortifications formed by several escape techniques are like sand sculptures piled up by children. If one slap doesn't work, just 2 slaps. He slapped them dozens of times in a row until they were dizzy. Kazekage, the second-generation hero, has eyes full of bitterness and regret. If he hadn't insisted on cooperating with the Leaf Village, this result wouldn't have happened. It's too late to regret now. Chiyo, Ebizo, you two are the future of Sunagakure village. I will cover you, and you can take the opportunity to leave. Second-generation Kazekage Samama said in a hoarse voice, and the green dragon on his face seemed to come to life. Looking up, looking directly at the Senju Rope Tree at the top of the wooden golem, I felt a sense of powerlessness. This is the power of wood style. No wonder their ancestors would occupy the most fertile land in the ninja world, while our Sunagakure village would be forced to the barren land there. The emotions of the hero's lateness and powerlessness emerged in his heart. Chiyo and Ebizo's eyes met, and there was a trace of hesitation in their eyes. Kazekage-sama, Chiyo, needless to say, Sunagakure village will be handed over to you from now on. The Samama stopped them from talking, and if he continued to hold on, none of them would be able to leave alive. Everything on the field. They were all seen by the Senju Rope Tree standing above the wooden golem. Senju Hashirama has a bad mind, but his fighting talent is unquestionable. Such ninjutsu is really powerful. Senju calmed his breathing and sighed. The ninjutsu that was activated just now is regarded as the highest secret of wood style, and the results achieved are not bad. Feel the chakra in your body. After consuming 1/5 of it just now, in an instant, relying on the recovery ability of wood style, you can reach perfection again. This kind of ninjutsu magnifies the advantages of the Senju family and would style to the extreme. Rely on strong recovery and destructive power to crush everything. This is simply a war weapon more powerful than the tailed beast. My eyes fell on the giant tree in the center with no branches and only a budding flower, and I felt a familiar feeling. Isn't this an inferior version of the sacred tree? Just like the inspiration of magnet style, it comes from one-tail shikaku. The inspiration of wood style comes from ghetto statue, even that sacred tree. Ordinary shadow-level experts don't even have the ability to survive in front of wood style. No longer sighing, his eyes fell on the few people who were still alive. Orochimaru? Just let you go. Staying on Orochimaru for a few moments. The ground rolled, and underground tree roots surged wildly, colliding with each other. Orochimaru pressed his right hand on the ground, and a huge purple-black snake was channeled. It was Orochimaru's psychic beast Wanzi. The huge body elongated and extended beyond the battlefield. The body and tree roots were strangled together. Damn it! He only had time to curse out 2 words, and before Wanshi could understand the situation, he was reduced to pieces. Orochimaru walked through the flesh and blood of thousands of snakes, turned his body into a white snake, and fled from the battlefield. Senju Nezuki didn't pursue him and just let Orochimaru go. Countless tree roots searched for the great elder of the Uchiha clan hidden underground. The roots of the tree penetrated his body and trapped him into a human cocoon. The root system of a tree is often stronger than the trunk and branches. Underground, you can temporarily escape the attack of the real number Senju, but face a more serious dilemma. The tree roots spread across the battlefield, rushing towards the sand-hidden village, gradually swallowing up the sand originally summoned by the Samana. The trees are almost covering up the wind and sand, leaving only a foothold. Let's go. Magnet style, sand waterfall burial. Second generation. Kazekage Samama, bursting out the chakra all over the body, pressing the sand under his feet. The power of magnet style controls the continuous flow of sand from the ground. There was a brief stalemate with the tumbling tree roots, but that was all. The roots of the trees under the ground, the web woven out of it, have begun to shrink, and the target is Samama. Samama manipulates the sand to branch out into a tributary, creating an escape route for Chiyo and Ebizo. He also completely lost his ability to resist. Kazekage, you are quite responsible. But the betrayer will only end up facing death. Senju expressed his appreciation for the sacrificial spirit of Kazekage Samana of second generation. At least their older generation is really holding up the sky for the younger generation, instead of letting the younger generation die to light their way. Even though I appreciate it, I don't intend to let them go. Puff. The tree roots penetrated the sea of sand, summoned by magnet style, and faced the second generation Kazekage Sanmon. The pink flower in the center of the battlefield, which absorbed the bodies of Jonin on the battlefield, finally bloomed. There was a refreshing smell in the air. Second generation Kazekage secretly said something bad, and the chakra in his body was hindered. The body was penetrated, but it still carried out the last order, opening an escape channel for Chiyo and Ebizo. There was only a few meters left, and the tree roots were already following. Ebizo yelled and stood in front of Chiyo. Ebizo's chest was stabbed. Chiyo was out of the range of deep forest creation and watched helplessly as Ebizo died. His body froze, and he was stunned for a moment, and he walked away instantly. Boom, in front of Chiyo, pieces of flowers fell. Realizing something was wrong, he thought it was genjutsu and formed seals to disrupt his own chakra, but it was a useless effort. Phew, under her feet, a tree root pierced her chest, and her eyes became clear this time. Goryulu, the ninjutsu scroll with the word filth written on it, fell to the ground stained with blood. In Chiyo's eyes, like a revolving door, the figure of Senju Nezuki finally appeared. The Senju Rope Tree that released with style came to Chiyo, shook his head, and looked at it. It's not your fault that you're greedy. It's your fault that you don't have the strength. Chapter 62. Such people are the majority in the ninja world. Senju Rope Tree fell into deep thought, whether his method was too cruel. He was rejected in an instant. Ninja itself is a dirty profession, and the so-called nindo is also the strengthening of personal will. No matter how glorious and upright it is too petty. In the words of the previous life, this is a brawl in the ninja village, a fight between the Otsutsuki family, Black Zetsu's search for his mother, Sage of Six Paths, partiality of Azura to suppress Indra, mouth escape. Legend. In the end, Uzumaki Naruto became the winner in life, and the Yamato world of ninja was full of irrationality. The mastermind of Sage of Six Paths is behind everything. Senju is suspicious, and Hyuga likes Huang Mao. They are all influenced by Jinjutsu. Everyone in the ninja world is not as noble as imagined. When they gain something, they will lose something. Senju Hashirama, the recognized god of ninja in the ninja world, not only because of his powerful power, but also because his ideas infected everyone and was recognized by people at that time. But his behavior created the existence of the 5 great ninja nations and provided various foundations for the ninja world war. As long as there are people, there will be selfish desires. The entire ninja world is under the control of Sage of 6 Paths. In order for Azura to defeat Indra and for the world to agree with Azura's ideas and her ideas, the war in the ninja world has lasted for nearly 1,000 years. This is also a form of bullying. In the dark, there are Black Zetsu, evil gods, and the Otsutsuki clan, who are hiding and want to realize their own ideals. Strong people treat the world as a chessboard, and weak people as chess pieces, playing games on it. Senju Rope Tree dispelled the distracting thoughts in his mind. What he can do now is to make himself stronger and not be dominated by other people's will. He looked up at the only remaining tree in the center of the battlefield, which was already bearing fruit. Senju Rope Tree waved his hand, and the only remaining tree withered and turned into mud, leaving only black and purple fruits flying towards him. He would like to thank Mother Earth for the gift that gave him the opportunity to stand on top of the world. The bloodline complement system has evolved according to my will. If it was originally a manual machine, it is now an automatic system. Saves you a lot of trouble. Senju Rope Tree holds the purple-black fruit, and detailed information appears on the panel in his mind. It is no longer as vague as before, and requires the Senju Rope Tree to enter the spiritual space and operate it manually to extract the essence. Item: Fake Chakra Fruit. Materials: a large number of ninja flesh and blood chuck, including items that can be extracted: Wind Attribute Chakra Essence, Fire Attribute Chakra Essence, Water Attribute Chakra Essence, Thunder Attribute Chakra Essence, Earth Attribute Chakra Essence. Refining consumption: 17,000 chakra points. Is it refined? Senju narrowed his eyes and guessed that the change in the system was because his ninja became complete, and Noju was the embodiment of his will. Ninjutsu will affect the development direction of ninjutsu. Originally, collecting corpses was a bit unseemly. As mental strength and self will become stronger, it develops in a more convenient direction. The essence of the bloodline complement system is a special energy gifted by Mother Earth, which can devour the origin of the world and strengthen itself, appearing in a way that Senju Rope Tree can understand. Refining. Senju Rope Tree no longer hesitates and tries to use a more convenient system. Hiss. Half of the more than 30,000 chakras in his body were removed. The purple-black fruit in your hand is decomposed, refined, and solidified to form crystals of various colors the size of rice grains. There are about 100 pills, and there are a few special ones among them. My eyes fell on these crystals, and their detailed information appeared in my mind. Wind Attribute Chakra is a nearly transparent azure crystal. Earth Chakra solidifies into nearly transparent earthy yellow crystals. Thunder Attribute Chakra solidifies into nearly transparent light cyan crystals. Fire Chakra solidifies into nearly transparent, light red crystals. Water-based Chakra solidifies into nearly transparent, light blue crystals. The Cathodic Chakra solidifies into nearly transparent, black crystals. Positive Chakra solidifies into nearly transparent glass-like crystals. Each grain of chakra essence is slightly different. Because the extractor is different, the color of the essence is also different. There are also magnet-style chakra crystals, which are a metallic earthy color. Senju Rushu secretly nodded and rejoiced, finally replacing a shotgun with a cannon. In the laboratory where cattle and horses were made in the previous life, no fully automatic instruments were used. In this cruel ninja world, fully automatic instruments are finally used. Satisfied, he collected the essences of different colors. This occasion was not suitable for improving himself. Everything is settled. Senju Naoki and Senju Doma left, leaving behind a devastated battlefield. It shocked the entire ninja world. The ninja world fell into a brief truce on the surface to explore the intelligence of this battle. All parties remained eerily silent, and the original actions against the Senju clan also stopped. The ninja world is secretly turbulent. The Kazakage building in Sunagakure village. On the third underground floor, a cloud of smoke rose, which was a sign that the spiritism was activated. There are rows of scrolls, and what are sealed on them are the puppets of the 10 Chikamatsu people. After losing their owner, precious things will be reverse-channeled, just like the 7 ninja swords of Kirigakure village. Creak, creak, a short puppet with pink hair walked out of the smoke, making a harsh sound with every step he took. If Senju was here, he would definitely recognize the Chiyo he killed. The puppet's body was stiff, and he groped on the workbench. A round barrel-shaped core was pressed into the heart, and the entire puppet became agile. This is actually a human puppet. At this time, Chiyo mastered this puppet technique and applied it to himself. Failed. After this battle, Sand-Hidden Village can only continue to hide itself and huddle in the barren country of wind. Chiyo made a mechanical sound and analyzed the last memory left by the original body in his mind. There is no emotion in the language, as if he is performing some kind of task. Search the table to find a scroll and open it to get the final instructions. Choose outstanding juniors to become Kazekage, the third generation, and assist him to manage Sunagakure village. Be patient and don't start any fight. A few minutes later, Chiyo picked up his pen and added a command. Hide yourself and don't make enemies of the Senju Rope Tree. This battle destroyed all the benefits and resources obtained by Sunagakure village. The puppet Chiyo is at a standstill, wondering what he is thinking about. The direction the head was facing was exactly the direction of Konoha village. If it weren't for the temptation of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Sunagakure village would still be the winner. There was regret flowing in the puppet's eyes. Chapter 63. Konoha village. The atmosphere in the conference room of the Hokage building was almost stagnant. The news from Orochimaru shocked them all. It's just Senju Naoki alone, and Senju Doma didn't take action? Just capture the high-end power of Sunagakure village and Konoha village. Through Orochimaru's narration, they felt the cruelty on the battlefield. The people participating in the war in Konoha are stronger than the people here. Those are the elders of the Uchiha family, the Sarutobi clan, and the Inarakacho family. Each one has impressive blood inheritance limits and secret skills. He was unexpectedly killed instantly by Senju with the starting move. Konoha's intelligence department described the wood-style scene analysis through Orochimaru and found that the strength of the Senju Rope Tree can already be compared to the Senju Hashirama. To create such power, it seems that Sunagakure village has suffered the heaviest loss, but it is Konoha that is truly facing annihilation. They were in fear, fearful that Senju Rope Tree would take revenge. In the event of revenge, how should they respond? They all checked themselves to see if they had done anything excessive to the Senju clan. You must find a way to protect yourself. The loss of high-end power broke the balance in Konoha village. The top power that died was the Sarutobi clan and his supporters. Now Sarutobi Hiruzen is facing unprecedented doubts. Hiruzen, your actions this time have brought an unprecedented crisis to Konoha. You are no longer qualified to continue to lead the village. Your presence will make the Senju group be hostile to Konoha and resign from the Hokage position with dignity. Danzo straightened his upper body and spoke unceremoniously. Duanzo, you really can't wait. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes swept across everyone present, his eyes filled with disappointment. These people avoided his gaze and did not want any contact. Finally, he nodded helplessly. Everyone on the field agreed to remove him from the Hokage position. After hearing the information reported by Orochimaru, his first reaction was disbelief. How could Senju Rope Tree be so powerful suddenly? He couldn't help but not believe the intelligence coming from the battlefield one after another, which made him feel despair and filled with fear. At this time, not only did he not resent Shimura Danzo, but he also wanted to thank him and save himself some dignity. Resigning from the position of Hokage is actually protecting him and making it possible for him to escape punishment. I suggest that Tsunade come back and inherit the position of Hokage. Mito Minion sighed and suggested. Everyone nodded. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen secretly nodded in agreement with this decision. If Tsunade comes back, they, Konoha, don't have to worry about the revenge of Senju Nawaki. This is also the only feasible path for Konoha. There was only one person who shook his head slightly, as if he was laughing at everyone. This person was Orochimaru. He also knew at this moment that the reason why he was able to escape was not because of his ability to save his life or how lucky he was, but Senju Rope Tree let him go. After that battle, he realized the difference between them. The heart is filled with the desire for power. That kind of devastating attack was not the upper limit of Senju Rope Tree. The flower in the center of the war is something Orochimaru will never forget. That flower seems to contain what I have always been pursuing. His little movement was noticed by Sarutobi Hiruzen, and he frowned and asked, Orochimaru, you think differently? Everyone's eyes were once again focused on Orochimaru. Orochimaru was the only survivor of that battle. I'm afraid not. I contacted Tsunade, but Tsunade didn't respond. She just said that she has a relationship with Konoha and me, and that's the end of it. Orochimaru lowered his head, covering his left eye with his slanted bangs, and spoke in a calm voice. Explain a fact that makes everyone helpless. Hiruzen Sarutobi targeted the Senju Rope Tree, and the Sarutobi clan invaded the Senju clan. They also followed the Hokage's footsteps, causing irreparable damage to the Senju Rope Tree and the Senju clan. The jonin in the conference room started talking in groups, even to the point of quarreling. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face was full of sorrow, and when he heard the content of the quarrel, it was all aimed at him and the Sarutobi clan. He is suffering the consequences of driving away the Senju clan. These jonin almost united and twisted him to the Senju Rope Tree. He missed Jiraiya a little, that obedient student. Thinking about countermeasures in his mind, he spoke unconfidently. Quiet, leave this matter to me. I will persuade Tsunade to come back as the fourth Hokage. I will announce my confession to the ninja world, admitting my evil deeds to the Senju clan, and will not implicate Konoha. After Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, he slumped in his seat. The spirit in his heart had been wiped out, and the way of ninja had been broken. Jonin's discussion in the conference room became quieter. Orochimaru glanced at his teacher, admiring him in his heart, and used retreat to advance. Not only did he cover up the talk of everyone on the field, but he also found a way out for himself. If Tsunade really comes back and Sarutobi Hiruzen announces his crimes and begs Senju Nawaki for forgiveness, there is a great chance of success and he will not be held responsible. In the eyes of Hiruzen Sarutobi, Orochimaru was able to come back alive this time because Senju Nezuki still cared about his old relationship. But what he doesn't know is that what Senju is grateful for is that Orochimaru protected him when he was weak and protected him when he was unable to protect himself. The most important thing is that Orochimaru is a pure person and is recognized by the Senju Rope Tree. Hiruzen Sarutobi will never be forgiven by the Senju Tree, and the Sarutobi clan will never be forgiven by the Senju clan. This is a life-or-death feud, and if Senju had not changed his life in heaven-defying ways, he would have become a scapegoat by now. Hiruzen, I suggest that all the assets of the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan be returned to the Senju Rope Tree. Moreover, the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan have a custom of marriage. The current Nine-Tails Jinchuriki Uzumaki Kushina recognizes Konoha very much and can be regarded as Konoha's sincerity to marry Senju Nezu. The relationship between the two is good. Go to bed, Koharu suddenly suggested, his eyes shining brightly. The opinions put forward are all tangible things that can be seen and touched, rather than empty words spoken by Hiruzen Sarutobi. He once remembered Kushina Uzumaki, who had a dream to become a Hokage, and asked him to sacrifice for Konoha to fulfill her. Through such things, the Senju Rope Tree's memory of Konoha can be awakened, and the crisis can be resolved. After Koharu's words came to bed, everyone fell into thinking and analyzed the feasibility. Nine-Tails is still in Uzumaki Kushina's body. Will it increase the strength of Senju Rope Tree? Danzo hesitated. For first Hokage-sama, Nine-Tails is just a small toy, and the same is true for the Senju Rope Tree. It just proves our sincerity, Koharu retorted. Others hesitated. Sarutobi Hiruzen touched his pipe and said firmly, I agree. I will personally persuade Kushina Uzumaki. With Kushina's mentality, if he really combines with the Senju Rope Tree, his probability of being forgiven will increase. The biggest trouble was persuading Kushina Uzumaki. Chapter 64. Uchiha Fugaka frowned. I heard that Uzumaki Kushina already has someone she likes. Isn't it inappropriate to do this? Some people on the court looked at Uchiha Fugaka strangely. Recently, there is a rumor in Konoha that Uchiha Fugaku is planning to marry Uchiha Mikoto, who is the same year as Senju Nawaki. Uchiha Fugaku is 5 years younger, and he is considered an old man in the ninja world, but he dares to question others? Let her sacrifice for Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head and stopped Uchiha Fugaku from continuing. This was his chance to survive. Things like feelings have always been exchanged for interests among the ninja family. Uchiha Fugaku stopped talking, and his frown could not be relaxed. People are always strict with others and more lenient with themselves. I agree with what Hiruzen said. Mito Kadanen agreed. He also had a sense of crisis in his heart. When it came to the affairs of the Senju clan, he had made wrong decisions and was afraid of the revenge of the Senju Rope Tree. He clearly remembers what happened in Tianjigua. I originally thought that the Senju Rope Tree was just a gentle punishment to the big names of Tian country. Unexpectedly, the Senju Rope Trees were wiped out, directly destroying the foundation of the Tian country's survival. Now all the daimyo and nobles of Tian country have become refugees. A few days ago, he also saw the daimyo of Tian country, who was now selling meatballs in Konoha village. He regretted and was afraid, and wanted to try his best to restore the relationship with the Senju clan. The contempt I once had for the Senju Rope Tree was all gone, replaced by respect. We should fear power rather than virtue. This has always been the case. So, who will serve as the envoy to negotiate with the Senju clan and the Senju Rope Tree to promote peace? Senju Naoki once said that as long as Sarutobi Shinosuke can admit his mistake to him, everything can still be discussed. Shimura Danzo clenched his right hand, feeling unwilling but helpless. Set a trap for Hiruzen Sarutobi again. Originally, he also wanted to do something to Ninetales Jinchuriki, but now it seems he can only give up and focus on with style instead. The question he asked caused the entire conference room to fall into silence again. After a while, everyone looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen. The current relationship between Konoha and the Senju Rope Tree can be said to be very bad. If they meet, they are really afraid that Senju Rope Tree will kill them and not give them a chance to negotiate and admit their mistakes. Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart was full of bitterness, as his dear son could not be found. He already had the worst plan in mind, but he just didn't want to believe it. According to Senju's original character, he might not do anything to Sarutobi Shinosuke, but with his current character, Sarutobi Shinosuke should never appear in the ninja world again. He used his own vision to bring into the Senju Rope Tree and guessed that the assassination of Sarutobi Shinosuke in the Konoha camp was simply a scene. Otherwise, there is no way to explain why the son he painstakingly cultivated would be so stupid to give Senju an excuse to leave Konoha. At that time, the Senju Rope Tree could still be strangled in the cradle. I will send the younger members of the family. As for Sarutobi Shinosuke, his whereabouts are still unknown, and he has not reported back to Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a long breath, put aside the distracting thoughts in his heart, and stopped thinking about it. He turned to look at his old buddy Shimura Danzo, feeling a little sad. At the same time, he was full of doubts. At this time, Shimura Danzo was still targeting him? How did two good friends become what they are now? However, under the influence of the Senju Rope Tree, Shimura Danzo twisted his will and strengthened his nindo. I think that the second Hokage Senju Tobirama did not really pass the position of Hokage to Hiruzen Sarutobi. The so-called experiment of staying behind had already been seen through by Hiruzen Sarutobi. Senju Tobirama was just deceived by Sarutobi Hiruzen. With Sarutobi Hiruzen's wisdom at the time, he should have guessed the reason why Senju Tobirama did what he did. It wasn't until today that he figured out that if he had been smarter and knew that it was a temptation, he would have been brave enough to stay behind. As Senju said, his teacher mastered the flying thunder god. How could he let them stay and break up his legacy? Hiruzen Sarutobi wanted to destroy the Senju clan by taking advantage of Senju Tobirama's righteousness, because that was the eternal pain in Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart. What Sarutobi Hiruzen has done over the years has failed to live up to second Hokage Senju Tobirama's expectations. Good. It was decided that the junior of the Sarutobi clan would take Kushina Uzumaki directly to the wooden castle to complete the marriage. I hope to restore the friendship with the Senju clan and renew the alliance. Even if the Senju clan doesn't come back, don't make an enemy of them. Sooner rather than later. How about one day later? Go to bed, Koharu, as the person who is most familiar with Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo breaks the silence between the two. With a questioning tone, he looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen. After all, with the character of Senju Nawaki, it is very likely that members of the Sarutobi clan will never return. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded with difficulty. Everyone in the conference room nodded in agreement. Such a decision is in the best interest of Konoha village. Those who sacrifice are all reasonable sacrifices, which can also be regarded as finding a good destination for the Whirlpool Kushina. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a little regretful. The way he wanted to train his disciples was no longer feasible. For the sake of his own future, he could only sacrifice Namikaze Minato's happiness and support. Originally, Namikaze Minato's prestige among civilians, coupled with Uzumaki Kushina's resources, would be his biggest supporter. Now it will be abandoned. There was a commotion outside the Hokage building. Click. A figure broke through the window, and it was none other than Jiraiya. Everyone looked at him with evil eyes, and his behavior was so disrespectful. Previously, Jiraiya, a commoner, had done some outrageous things relying on the favor of Hiruzen Sarutobi. Peeping at ladies taking a bath in a public bathhouse, pornographic novels contaminating the village of minors, and attracting attention by doing inappropriate things everywhere. If such a person did not have the support of Sarutobi Hiruzen, what qualifications would he have to lead an army on the battlefield? Just because Sanshuyu Hanzo gives them a shameful title? Jiraiya's performance was completely inferior to Tsunade and Orochi. all relying on the support of Sarutobi Hiruzen, was a flag raised by Sarutobi Hiruzen to strengthen his prestige among civilian ninjas. Everyone looked at Jiraiya with eyes full of contempt. Losing the protection of Sarutobi Hiruzen and the title of Hokage disciple, Jiraiya no longer has the aura he had before. Chapter 65. Button. There was a knock on the door, and an Umbu ninja pushed the gate of opening and reported in a low voice. "My lords, I'm sorry, I stopped Jiraiya." It wasn't until he saw Sarutobi Hiruzen waving his hands that he retreated. What he did was in sharp contrast to what Jiraiya did. "I disagree. Uzumaki Kushina is the girlfriend of my disciple Namikaze Minato. How can you easily decide the fate of others?" Jiraiya didn't feel that his behavior was different at all, and asked angrily and loudly. The atmosphere in the conference room was like frozen water, reaching a freezing point. In Jiraiya's mind, Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina are a match made in heaven, a pair that attracts each other. What concerned him most was that Namikaze Minato might be the destiny child referred to by the great Toad Sage. He must shoulder his responsibility and protect the son of destiny. These people in Konoha in front of me dare to resist fate. "Jiraiya, you're going too far. You have an unpleasant smell." Orochimaru saw everyone's reaction, understood that Jiraiya's behavior had aroused public anger, and wanted to appease him. Standing up, he instantly came behind Jiraiya, held his shoulders to stop his next movements, stuck out his tongue and licked his lips, frowning. He felt an unpleasant smell on Jiraiya's body. His pupils tightened, and then he discovered the disharmony in Jiraiya. Jiraiya changed his original attire, and the sky blue pants on his lower body became extremely fat, covering his legs. The shoes that were originally supposed to be clogs turned into wide ninja marching shoes, covering the entire foot. Completely different from his previous image. "Orochimaru, what are you doing?" Jiraiya seemed to be startled, turned around and kicked Orochimaru in the chest. Boom! Orochimaru crossed his arms, blocking Jiraiya's attack. The whole person flew backwards and was embedded in the wall of the Hokage building. Toad's legs? Orochimaru broke free from the gap, rubbed his arms that were about to break, closed his eyes, and a picture appeared in his mind. Just now, when Jiraiya raised his legs, he saw that Jiraiya's legs were toad legs. He had tried this kind of biological modification technology on the front line of Hidden Mist Village, but it had serious side effects, so he gave up in the end. The sharks combine the characteristics of humans and fish, trying to create amphibious weapons of war. "I oppose your decision. The Senju Rope Tree is very dangerous and will bring harm to the ninja world. We must nip it in the bud." Jiraiya rolled his eyes at Orochimaru. He didn't understand why his reaction just now was so exciting, but he had no intention of apologizing. The moment Orochimaru encountered him, he felt as if he was facing a powerful enemy, as if he was being targeted by a natural enemy. Jiraiya, that kind of taijutsu? Explosive chakra? Mixed with other auras. Snakes and toads are natural enemies. No wonder they react like this. Orochimaru stared at Jiraiya closely, wanting to wait for his apology. What surprised him was that Jiraiya didn't feel any discomfort about his behavior just now. Orochimaru dusted himself off, returned to his previous position, and sat down. Relying on the existing information, Jiraiya's current state was deduced in his mind. After he was defeated by Sanzo Hanzo, he also went to Ryuchi Cave to pursue power. One of the ways is to convert part of your body into a snake's body to gain more power. This way of gaining strength has a powerful after effect, and life habits and memory, body and instinct may be affected. Orochimaru didn't want to abandon his clever mind, so he didn't accept it. He wanted to keep his pure self, and used his ingenuity to create an immortal substitute technique that was independent of the ninjutsu system in the ninja world. He could activate the secret technique with flesh and blood, turn into a snake, and some people who channeled snakes have now begun to see results. The current Jiraiya is not so lucky. He is no longer him. The toad legs that were half of his body are definitely not his. They were too deeply affected by the toad on Mount Mayaboku. "Jiraiya, shut up. Who are you? You are not qualified to talk nonsense in this meeting." Shimura Danzo slammed one hand on the table and warned in a hoarse voice. He didn't understand why Sarutobi Hiruzen would accept such an idiot as his disciple. If it were at his roots, he would have died countless times. "Jiraiya, you are just a newly promoted Jonin." Among the crowd, Jonin, a member of the Fuma clan who had been humiliated by Jiraiya, scolded. A group of people, showing the expressions they should take for granted. This meeting seems to be a Jonin meeting, but behind every Jonin, there is a ninja family or collective, which only has decision-making power as a basis and bargaining chip. Jiraiya did not. Losing the support of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Jiraiya was not that outstanding. At this time, Jiraiya was like a clown. Old man, you. Jiraiya looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with anger in his eyes and unwillingness on his face. Jiraiya, be quiet. Hiruzen Sarutobi scolded in a low voice, waving his hand to Jiraiya and asking him to come over. In Jiraiya's current state, he looked down upon everyone and was so superior that even he felt a little uncomfortable. Sarutobi Hiruzen handed him a piece of information about the Senju Rope Tree in his hand. Jiraiya's expression changed again and again. He was frightened by the performance of Senju Nawaki in the intelligence. If Senju Nizuki really had such strength at that time, he would not have been able to escape. Jiraiya originally escaped from the Senju Rope Tree and Senju Soil. Some people question whether two super shadows can't beat Jiraiya. You broke 2 legs and ran away in embarrassment. How can you say you can't beat him? Two-Toed Sage came to the rescue? Is it reasonable to take away Jiraiya? It's reasonable to escape with mouth. My brain is in Chapter 1. Go get it and withdraw it. This. Jiraiya's voice was trembling, and he wanted to say something, and looked at Orochimaru, who had witnessed the war. Orochimaru met Jiraiya's gaze and nodded. He stared at Jiraiya closely, wanting to see if the changes in Jiraiya were worth saving. I still don't agree. Jiraiya unconsciously clenched his hands tightly and balled up a stack of paper in his hands. Hiruzen, this disciple of yours should be taught a lesson. He has been too arrogant over the years. Shimura Danzo clasped his hands together and glanced at Jiraiya contemptuously. Without the support of Sarutobi Hiruzen, who are you? Sarutobi Hiruzen is no longer a Hokage. You, a disciple, have no say in the Jonin meeting. In this meeting, only the ninja family has the right to speak. Jiraiya, step back. The village has made a decision. Hiruzen Sarutobi said decisively, pointing in the direction of the door. How can you be so arbitrary and impose your will on others? They have their own way to go. Namake's Minato is likely to be the savior of the ninja world. Jiraiya gasped, eyes widening. His heart was full of bloodshot eyes, and he shouted, dissatisfiedly. Chapter 66. Jiraiya's words were laughed at by everyone. What savior? He is just a young guy who has just graduated and has some potential. Because of your words, you become the savior? Is it possible to surpass Senju Rope Tree? How ridiculous. How can the false destiny in your mouth compare to the interests of the village? Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head and sighed, pressed a button under the table, and Tu Umbu pushed the door open and came in. He pointed his palm at Jiraiya, who was making waves, signaling to drive him out. The Tu Umbu took Jiraiya away. Jiraiya's eyes were full of incomprehension. Even his teacher did not support him or believe in himself. His contribution to Konoha was so great. Did he do everything for Konoha? Why does no one believe in themselves and understand themselves? In the eyes of everyone, he broke free from the shackles and jumped away through the hole in the window. Before leaving, he glanced angrily at everyone on the field. Orochimaru, go check on Jiraiya, Hiruzen Sarutobi said with a frown. He was afraid that Jiraiya would make an unwise choice at this time. Z12, follow along and keep an eye on them. Shimura Danzo glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen and ordered the root guard named Z12 behind him. The words fell. Orochimaru and the root ninja chased Jiraiya. Others in the conference room began to quarrel again over the distribution of various rights. Some people with other thoughts began to find a way out for themselves. They began to use various methods to find connections with the Senju clan. The civilian ninja who once broke away from the Senju clan and integrated into Konoha attracted attention. The war ended 5 days later. Sand Hidden Village. The news of Kazekage's death in second generation can no longer be concealed. Various forces in the village are fighting openly and secretly, trying to seize more power. Sunagakure village is in chaos. At the critical moment, Chiyo, who had been missing for a long time, appeared again and stabilized the situation. What surprised everyone was that Chiyo did not choose to become a Kazekage himself, but chose to support Sunatetsu, a disciple of the second-generation Kazekage, and became the fourth-generation Kazekage. Sandy is an orphan, raised by the second-generation Kazekage Samama. It is commendable that now Sandy has mastered the magnet style and can control metal soil, which goes well with his name. Chiyo operated in this way to stabilize the factions within Sunagakure village, preserve the strength of Sunagakure village, and restore peace within Sunagakure village. The thing he fears most now is Senju's revenge. Recall the previous transactions between the two parties. Chiyo prepared all the corpses he had collected before and used them as bargaining chips to show his sincerity. His heart was full of bitterness, and he hated himself for listening to Sarutobi Hiruzen's slander. Taking what should belong to the Senju Rope Tree, go to the wooden castle to repent and seek peace. Sunetetsu asked him many times about the details of the war, but Chiyo did not reveal any information and just warned him not to pursue it. The Senju Rope Tree has become a taboo in Chiyo and Sunagakure villages. Sand Hidden Village issued an order and immediately turned around and ran away when encountering the Senju Rope Tree. The Kirigakure village is isolated overseas. The senior officials in the village rarely get together because of Senju's performance. There is a clear distinction between ninjas with blood inheritance limits and ninjas without blood inheritance limits. Originally, the Oniden family mastered the secret technique of water transformation, the Minazuki family's ice escape, and the Kagaya family's Makabone pulse. These were rare and powerful forces in the ninja world, and they dominated Kirigakure village. But the ninja family that has blood inheritance boundaries thinks that ninjas without blood inheritance boundaries are inferior to others. This caused the ninjas who had no blood inheritance limits to resist. The number of ninjas with no bloodline limit is overwhelming. The structure of Kirigakure village is gradually changing. Ninjas without blood inheritance boundaries are gradually taking over the mainstream, squeezing out ninjas with blood inheritance boundaries. The biggest representative among them is the appearance of the 7 legendary Chunin swords. The instrument possesses the power of the blood inheritance boundary, which weakens the voice of the blood inheritance boundary family. Even now, the third Mizukage is a genius of the Oniden clan. There is nothing to stop this trend. There is a gap between civilian ninjas and family ninjas. Ninjas without blood inheritance boundaries began to resist, thinking that ninjas with blood inheritance boundaries were nothing more than that. The sudden rise of the Senju Rope Tree resounded throughout the ninja world, and also sounded an alarm to all ninjas in Kirigakure village. The powerful bloodline ninja is a strategic force. To surpass their knowledge, they need to figure it out slowly. They began to think about whether ninjas with blood inheritance limits and ninjas without blood inheritance limits could live in peace. Both parties are considering changing their attitudes and discover that their ancestors were also a group of like-minded people who gathered in the Kingdom of Water to establish the Kirigakure village. This unintentional move made the atmosphere of Kirigakure village fall into unprecedented harmony. The development of the ninja world is the development of ninjutsu. During the Sage of Six Paths period, there was no blood inheritance limit and ninjutsu could not be used at all. Only people with extremely high talent and pure blood could use ninjutsu of ninjutsu. It wasn't until Indra developed the seal to assist in performing ninjutsu that the threshold was lowered a lot. Strictly speaking, Indra is the true ancestor of ninjutsu. Ninjutsu uses seals to simplify, decompose, and flow the chakra flow pattern of the blood succession boundary to create a simple blood succession boundary. The effect of ninjutsu is equivalent to the incomplete blood succession limit. Just like blood succession limit, it can be synthesized through unique ninjutsu training, such as Anoki's dust style. After nearly 1,000 years of development, ninjutsu becomes more and more mature, and the bloodline of the owner of the blood inheritance boundary becomes thinner and thinner. By the Warring States period, the power of the two tends to be balanced. Just like the Senju clan, Senju Hashirama represents the pinnacle of the blood inheritance limit, and wood style can suppress everything. There is the power of Azura behind it, or the power of Sage of Six Paths. Senju Tobirama represents the pinnacle of ninjutsu, dark walk jutsu, shadow clone jutsu, flying thunder god jutsu, a series of self-developed ninjutsu, which can restrain Sharingan, the top blood inheritance limit. In the new era, ninjutsu is not weaker than the effect of blood succession limit, so the unique pattern of Kirigakure village is created. Ninjas without bloodline limits began to target ninjas with bloodline limits. On the one hand, they regarded ninjas without bloodline as ants, and on the other hand, because their strength declined and they gradually lost their dominance. With the improvement of the ninjutsu system, the advantage of ninjas with blood inheritance limits will continue to become smaller. By the time of Fudinden, many ninjutsu already had the characteristics of blood succession limit. For example, Nico Sanoho's effect is a weakened version of Susanoo. Now Senju's record has changed the perception of some people. The powerful blood inheritance limit has the power to shock the entire ninja world. After some negotiation, Kirigakure village sends the Terp Uruchi clan, who are friends with the Senju clan, to form an alliance. Hope some cooperation can be achieved. Some of them are still worried about the harm they caused to the Uzumaki clan and the Senju clan. That battle caused the Uzumaki clan to be wiped out, and the Senju clan suffered heavy losses. Chapter 67. Yunin Village. The Third Hokage and the future Fourth Hokage, AI, had a fierce hand-to-hand battle on the training ground. Both sides turned on the lightning-style chakra mode, which looked like a fight regardless of the other's life and death. In the end, the future Fourth Hokage collapsed on the ground without any image, and the Third Hokage was still a little unhappy. The training ground was in a mess, with ravines already appearing, a scene created by the aftermath of the battle. AI, are you still far behind? You must grow up quickly to be able to face the current chaos in the ninja world. The Third Hokage came to AI, stretched out his hand, and pulled it up from the ground, with a solemn look in his eyes. There is a hint of dissatisfaction with AI's strength growth. Dad, when Killer Bee's training is over and the two of us are together, our strength will definitely make a qualitative leap. AI wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his fist and said nonchalantly, "Bang." A warning look flashed across Third Hokage's face, and he punched AI on the head, a large bulge visible to the naked eye. Senju Roten, who is the same age as you, already has the strength to fight with me, and even has the strength to surpass me. You are too lax on yourself. For the sake of Yunin Village and the Kingdom of Thunder, you must grow up quickly. Third Hokage's voice became extremely serious. A sense of urgency was imprinted in AI's heart. Dad, during our brief meeting in the Wooden City last time, I had a premonition that the strength of the Senju Rope Tree was slightly greater than mine, but not as great as you said. Does he really have the strength to fight you? AI had a dark face and two white and yellow eyebrows, which came together and raised his question. In his heart, his father is a being who can fight with 8 tails and can conquer a country by one person. He is the strongest among all the Kages. Even Hanzo the Sanshuyu, who is known as the demigod of the ninja world, is no match for his father. The last time we met at Wood City, we saw a good show. Senju Doma was the one who started the attack, and Senju Roten was covering. The strength shown is only elite Jonin level, but due to the particularity of Wood's style, it is comparable to Kage level. It's not like what his father said. He has strength comparable to the strongest Hokage. Isn't that too alarmist? AI, don't be fooled by appearances. Judging from the currently known intelligence, the elites of Sand Hidden Village and Konoha Hidden Village have united to ambush the Senju Rope Tree, defeated by him with Wood style. Among them is the second-generation project Kazekage, which is an antique from the same period as mine. But judging from his record, his strength has probably surpassed mine. Third Hokage took a long breath, with a look of reluctance on his face. But the facts are before us. Even he couldn't achieve the same results as Senju Rope Tree. He comforted himself in his heart that this was the result of the cooperation between Senju Naoki and Senju Doma. But even this is very terrifying. AI, you go to Turtle Island and train with Killer Bee. After everything is over, return Turtle Island to the Senju clan. This belongs to the Uzumaki clan. I guess. The psychic beast of the Uzumaki clan is the turtle, and the huge Turtle Island is the largest psychic beast, and it is also where the psychic beasts of the Uzumaki clan live. First, the family emblem of the Uzumaki clan is a pattern of whirlpools, which can be seen on the turtle shell on Turtle Island. Second, some of the facilities on Turtle Island have a restraining effect on tailed beasts, just like the Uzumaki clan restrains tailed beasts. Third, the Uzumaki clan has a huge amount of chakra, so it is possible to summon a psychic beast as big as Turtle Island. Fourth, turtles are long-lived in various varieties, red. All have some similarities. Fifth, personal settings. Third Hokage took a look at the thunderclouds that lingered in Yunin Village all year round, and made a decision in his heart. Judging from previous intelligence, Senju Nizuki is very concerned about the Uzumaki clan's affairs. The property of the Uzumaki clan must be disposed of as soon as possible. Among them, Turtle Island, which is most useful to them, also needs to be returned as soon as possible. I know, Dad. AI still wanted to resist, but he saw unprecedented seriousness in his father's eyes, and he nodded very solemnly. The pursuit of strength in my heart has reached a peak. Iwagakure Village. The 2 scales Inoki is floating directly above the Tsuchikage building, and the direction facing Rosacea is the direction of the Land of Fire. The Land of Fire is really lucky. Even if a great thief like Hiruzen Sarutobi appears, amidst internal and external troubles, a genius like Senju Nawaki appears. The plan to carve up the territory of the Country of Fire needs to be replanned. With eyes full of reluctance, he finally slowly landed on the roof of the Tsuchikage building. Master Tsuchikage, many Jonin are already waiting. The Umbu ninja instantly knelt in front of Anoki and respectfully asked for instructions. Let them disperse and stop targeting the Senju clan. Anoki's short body exuded a terrifying aura, and he restrained himself after speaking. Yes. The Umbu ninja nodded respectfully and turned into a shadow and left. The Jonin meeting originally held was decided by him with one word. Inoki's status in Iwagakure village is supreme because he masters the dust style formed by the fusion of these three attributes of chakra. Because of this, he knew the horror of wood style. He is a person who has personally seen Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, and once followed First Hokage to Konoha village. I have seen the power of wood style and Mangekyo Sharingan. The look from Uchiha Madara scared the shit out of me. Wood style and Sharingan, at that time, were the representatives of the pinnacle of the ninja world. I originally thought that even if wood style appeared again, he would not be able to reach the same state as Senju Hashirama, just like the incomplete Sharingan of the Uchiha family. Unexpectedly, Senju spoke with facts and achievements. Kill the remaining second generation in the ninja world, and let the reputation of wood style spread in the ninja world again. All actions against the Senju clan are suspended. Inoki raised his head again and looked in the direction of Konoha village, with a firm look in his eyes. The Senju family must not be allowed to return to Konoha, otherwise the entire ninja world will crawl at the feet of Konoha village. He made a decision in his heart, and the scene when Konoha just established the village appeared in his mind. If Senju Hashirama does not die and Uchiha Madara does not leave Konoha, then the entire country of the ninja world will be reduced by half. The territory of the Kingdom of Fire will expand again. Those two people brought great pressure to the ninja world. All forces have surrendered to Konoha village, and no country dares to resist. It was because of internal problems in Konoha village that the current situation of 5 major ninja countries coexisting. He must find a way to weaken Konoha's strength. The best effect is for the Senju Rope Tree to fall, but this is too difficult, so we can only start from other aspects. Chapter 68. Inoki used his brain full of politician thinking to constantly think of countermeasures, and the intelligence of Konoha and the Senju clan was intertwined in his mind. He is the oldest person who has been in power in the ninja world and has lived the longest. He has experienced all eras and even lived to the new era without being passed down. He is well versed in the ways of Go, and can find the path that is most beneficial to him from complex situations. When the money exchange institution comes to mind, the water must be muddied so that Iwagakure village can profit from it. What Konoha did to the Senju clan, the internal conflicts, is the most terrifying thing. I hope Sarutobi Hiruzen can get the true inheritance of Senju Tobirama. The Senju clan and the Sarutobi clan must not let them reconcile. Inoki's body flew into the Tsuchikage building. Borrowing the special characteristics of the gold exchange, start your own layout to weaken Konoha's strength as much as possible. Instigate internal relations, causing the Senju clan and the Sarutobi clan and the Inarakacho clan, the leaders of Konoha village, to consume each other. No matter what the final result is, the strength of Konoha and the country of fire will always be weakened. To this day, he still believes that the Senju clan is an important part of the fire country and part of Konoha's power. This is exactly the effect Senju Roden wants. He has never thought about reconciling with Konoha, to forgive Konoha, and those who have hurt him and the people and forces that have hurt the Senju clan. Those who hurt you will do it a second time. Never forgive them. Otherwise, it is a whirlpool from which one can never escape. You must also stay away from those who advise you to be generous and forgive. Otherwise, you will easily be struck by lightning. The Kingdom of Fire, Daming Mansion. In a conference room, the names of the 5 major ninja countries can communicate remotely through an unknown technique. If Senju Shangshu were here, he would definitely complain, and even Damingfu would start working on Ding Ding. Just like the Hyuga clan has a teleportation channel leading directly to the moon, this kind of interstellar technology. How could the country of ninja, which has existed for thousands of years, not have any low-end technology? The daimyo of the Land of Fire is old. He holds a white paper folding fan in his right hand, covering the lower half of his face and frowning. Behind him is a larger folding fan screen with several fire patterns on it. On the wall behind the fan, there is a huge fire character, which represents the identity of the Fire Nation. There are several famous names from other countries, similar costumes. Behind them, there is a huge folding fan screen. The difference is the pattern on it and the words on the back. The Kingdom of Water is a pattern of drops of water, with the word water on the wall behind it. The Kingdom of Earth is a pattern of several mountains, with the word earth on the wall behind it. The Kingdom of Thunder is a pattern of several lightning bolts, with the word thunder on the wall behind it. The Kingdom of Wind is a pattern of several lines representing a whirlwind, and the word wind is on the wall behind it. Daimyo of the Land of Fire, the war is out of control. The Senju clan may threaten our rule. I suggest we join forces to kill them. Together, wipe out the Kong Ninja Village and the Sky Country, which are the latest to challenge the 5 great ninja nations. The name of the Kingdom of Wind had an angry face, and his eyes were full of anger. Sunagakure village is the weakest among the 5 great ninja villages, and the corresponding daimyo has the greatest say. He was originally the person with the greatest control over the country among the 5 great powers, but he could endure the decline of the village, and no matter how great his control was, it became useless. This time the Senju Rope Tree became famous and crippled Sunagakure village. The daimyo of the Kingdom of Wind wanted to kill the Senju Rope Tree, but he couldn't do it and had to ask for help from other countries. Sunagakure village was originally the weakest of the 5 great shinobi villages, and now it may fall. There is a large group of ninja villages behind the Ninja Kingdom who want to replace the Wind Country and Sand Hidden Village. Even if the Wind Country is poor, it is still one of the 5 major countries, especially the challenge from the Kong Ninja Village. The Kong Ninja Village consciously developed new technologies to attack the 5 major ninja villages, making the daimyo of the country of Wind aware of the crisis. The famous names of several other countries fell into deep thought. Can the Senju clan really be strangled? What price to pay? Are these things they need to consider? The daimyo of each country have different ideas in their hearts, so it is naturally impossible to guarantee the unity of interests. Especially the daimyo of the Land of Fire, the Senju clan, are his in-laws. If both parties maintain a good relationship, they can be a boost to the daimyo lineage. But looking at the current situation, Senju Rope Tree has caused public outrage, and he also feels threatened. He is already old. If he were young, he would actively cooperate with the Senju clan to suppress the entire ninja world and make the Fire Country the strongest in the ninja world. He would even annex smaller countries and expand the Fire Country's territory. He believes that he can master and control the Senju Rope Tree. Now the ambition in his heart has been wiped out with age. What he wants is a stable Fire Country. The daimyo has his own power and can control the Fire Country of Konoha village. One's own descendants may not be able to control the Senju Rope Tree or the Senju clan. The decision was made to alienate the relationship with the Senju clan and weaken the power of the Senju clan. The future daimyo candidates no longer choose the same bloodline as the Senju clan and need to be reconsidered. Joint strangulation? What kind of force can you send from the Kingdom of Wind? Just don't see others. I want to drag everyone into trouble. The daimyo of the Kingdom of Water said sarcastically. He looked down upon the declining Wind Country and Sand Hidden Village. Call out the most fundamental differences. If they unite, then this force will be drawn from the 5 major ninja villages. If Sunagakure village lacks strength, they will make up for it, and the other 4 great ninja nations will be damaged. You, the famous figure from the Kingdom of Wind, blurted out angrily. Is it just to watch the birth of a being that is beyond the control of the 5 great ninja nations? As soon as these words came out, the daimyo fell into deep thought again. The Senju clan's background is too strong, especially in the trade of food and medicinal materials. They have suppressed them for so many years, and even Konoha's erosion of the Senju clan has their shadow. Don't be impulsive. Once there is a joint military operation, the power of the shadow will be infinitely expanded. The power in the hands of the daimyo will be weakened again. The daimyo of the Earth Country had a hint of forbearance in his eyes. I agree that compared with the Senju clan, the battle between the shadow and the daimyo is the most important thing. The daimyo of the Kingdom of Thunder immediately agreed. Chapter. The daimyo of the Land of Earth and the Land of Thunder looked at each other, and a feeling of sympathy spread across the field. The corresponding villages in their country, whether it is the Third Hokage or the Third Hokage, are very tough, and they are all horribly suppressed by the shadows. The power of the shadow is far greater than that of the daimyo. The era of Senju Hashirama has passed. No matter how strong the Senju Rope Tree is, there is a limit. We will temporarily put aside the action against the Senju clan. Anyway, the Senju clan is in the Land of Fire. What they should worry about most is the daimyo of the Land of Fire, right? The name of the Kingdom of Water, with a slight sarcasm in his mouth. I want to see the choices made by the daimyos of the Land of Fire and how to deal with the rise of the Senju clan. Chapter 69. Their country of water is isolated overseas, and ordinary events cannot affect them. An embarrassed look flashed across the face of the daimyo of the Fire Country. The Fire Country is known as the most powerful ninja country, and most of its heritage comes from the Senju clan. He began to rethink his attitude towards the Senju clan. You, at this time, are still entangled in the fight between the shadow and the daimyo. It is really unreasonable. The daimyo of the Kingdom of Wind's face became more and more ugly. He covered his eyes with a fan to calm down his mood. You should thank the Senju Rope Tree for destroying the second-generation Kazekage, otherwise with your wisdom, you will be suppressed by the Kazekage sooner or later. The daimyo of the Kingdom of Thunder teased. You have never encountered a strong shadow before you would have such an idea. The daimyo of Earth Country agreed. In the Kingdom of Earth and the Kingdom of Thunder, the shadow's right to speak has surpassed that of the daimyo, so they do this. You have been suppressed by the shadows for a long time, haven't you? The daimyo of the Kingdom of Wind said sarcastically. Several other people snorted coldly and prepared to continue arguing. The pressure faced by the daimyo not only comes from the outside, but also comes from their internal influences, which continue to erode the power in the hands of the daimyo. Both parties are partners and competitors. Daimyos who do not have extraordinary power in their hands are always on guard against the erosion of shadows, and are increasingly aware of the importance of having power in their hands. Stop making noise. Daimyo of the Kingdom of Wind, you don't have to be so sarcastic. What you are worried about is just the empty ninja village taking your place in the top 5 ninja kingdoms. We, the 5 great ninja nations, have signed a contract, and the status of the 5 great ninja nations cannot be shaken. I want the Senju clan to solve the Kong ninja village. We, the 5 major countries, continue to unite to restrict the development of the Senju clan in terms of daily necessities and other aspects. For this reason, you, the Kingdom of Wind, must cede some of your interests. Whether it is before or after the ninja world, it must be our 5 great ninja countries. Our 5 daimyo have the final say. No objections. The daimyo of the country of fire suddenly put away the fan in his hand and made a snapping sound. Everyone was silent. The name of the fire country narrowed his eyes and spoke with a domineering air that dominated the world. The daimyo of the other 4 countries, with a calm breath, thought about the solution for the daimyo of the land of fire. The Senju clan fought against the Kong ninja village, and they were happy to see the result. They take it for granted that the strength of both sides will be weakened, and even if they win, it will be a tragic victory. It is also in their interests to limit the development of the Senju clan. Agree. Agree. All the 5 great ninja kingdom daimyo agreed. Only the name of the country of wind does not look very good. The country of wind, which is already barren, will be even more tense if the interests are divided. The name of the land of fire, lack of interest, can release the art of controlling images. He leaned back on the daimyo chair and rubbed his temples to relieve fatigue. Go and send a message to the eldest son Fujiwara Hiroshi. As long as the Kong ninja village is solved, the position of the daimyo will be his. The daimyo straightened his back and gave instructions to the attendant beside him. Hiroshi Fujiwara's mother is Senju Nawaki's aunt. When the Senju clan left Konoha and went to the Wooden City to become a noble of the Land of Fire, Senju Nazuki's aunt spent a lot of effort. Now, the daimyo is using this excuse to let the Senju clan solve the problem of Kong ninja village. I don't know if the promise spoken by the daimyo counts, but it is just a message anyway. This news quickly spread throughout the nobles of the Fire Country. The City of Wood. In the training room, Senju was sitting cross-legged on the ground, his clothes bulging out, and he was sweating all over his body, and the sweat was rolling down his forehead. The surroundings are shrouded in vines and trees, and the vortex formed by the 7 types of chakra around him changes in size and size around him. Under careful control, the form of chakra continues to change. Several attributes transform into each other, and the forms of attributes transform into each other. In order to achieve the purpose of exercising control, bang! A vortex explosion formed by the 7 chakras. The aftermath of the explosion was absorbed by the surrounding vines and trees. I still have poor control. I don't want to become a loser like Kagaya who doesn't understand fighting skills. Senju stood up and patted the damaged clothes. This period of training made him realize his shortcomings. The power in his body is already comparable to Senju Hashirama, but his control is still at the level of a jonin, or even weaker. You can only use the ninjutsu of opening and closing to suppress the enemy with powerful power. The ninjutsu used is also Senju Hashirama's wood-style move. It works well against ninjas who are weaker than him, but if you encounter enemies like Senju Hashirama, Uchiha Madara, or even Azura Indra, you will be easily defeated. During this period of practice, I am trying to improve my control. Combine your own ninjutsu to develop your own ninjutsu. Bang, bang, bang. A knock on the door came from outside the practice room. Senju Rope Tree senses that the incoming person is Senju Doma and removes the surrounding wood style. Clan leader, it's time for you to rest. Senju Dojian saw Senju Naoki's face covered in sweat and handed over a towel in his hand. Elder Tujin, something has happened. Senju asked with a smile as he wiped his sweat with a towel, but did not answer directly. Senju Dojian's expression became serious, and the expression of confusion on his face flashed, and he said, "The news you asked me to pay attention to has already come to fruition. Chiyo did not die. Third-generation Kazekage appeared in Sand Hidden Village, and he was Sunatetsu, the disciple of second-generation Kazekage. Jiraiya also appeared in Konoha Village, because Konoha Village wanted Uzumaki Kushina to marry you, and disappeared again after causing a scene in the Hokage building. All the forces in the ninja world had their own reactions because of that battle." Said. A scroll appeared in his hand and was handed to Senju Roten. Senju put on new clothes, took the scroll and began to read it carefully. His eyes gradually became deeper. Chiyo? Not dead. At that time, Chiyo had already escaped the scope of deep forest creation, so the Senju Rope Tree did not delve too deeply into it. The incomplete chakra fruit finally created did not contain Chiyo's soul. It seemed that she had somehow come back to life in the ninja world. Senju Dojian echoed. I also checked specifically to find out that Chiyo was already dead at that time. Is there someone who was playing tricks on her? No. It must be Chiyo who is in Sand Hidden Village. Only she can stabilize the situation in Sand Hidden Village and prevent Sand Hidden Village from falling into chaos. It should be some kind of special technique. She has never been exposed to the public. Add in Jiraiya, a self-proclaimed idiot, and it becomes interesting. Senju Rope Tree found some key information in the intelligence and had a guess in his mind, human puppet. It is not impossible to show up in advance. He has seen Chiyo's puppet level with his own eyes. Scenes flashed through my mind. Jiraiya's ability to escape was also full of drama. His chakra stagnated for a moment, and his reverse psychic technique also activated too quickly. Chapter 70. The unimportant people are all dead, the people who really affect the plot. For example, Jiraiya and Chiyo, these two important supporting characters, continue to exist in various unreasonable ways. Behind this, there is some kind of power intervention. Senju was upset for a while. Destiny? I don't believe it. The influence of chakra and the control of Sage of Six Paths are the greatest possibilities. It doesn't seem like a big deal now, so just give it a try. I accepted Konoha's proposal. Starting from the mother of the two protagonists, if there is no Uzumaki Kushina and Uchiha Makoto, will there be Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke? Suddenly, he thought of a way to restrain himself. Even if Sage of Six Paths could intervene in the present world, his power is limited. It depends on how far he can achieve it. Just like Heizetsu, who wants to save his mother, he also hides behind it and instigates the reincarnation of Indra and Ajura. Various arrangements of Sage of Six Paths in the ninja world appeared in Senju's mind. The first is the psychic beast. Among them, the old toad of the three holy places is the most troublesome one and an important means of intervening in the direction of the world. Whether it is Jiraiya, Namikaze Minato, or Uzumaki Naruto, they all affect the direction of the world to some extent. After Jiraiya made it clear to him, they were already obvious enemies, and conflicts were inevitable. The second is the influence of chakra. If you have not awakened your own Nindo and reached the level of Super Shadow beyond the influence, you cannot get rid of the influence of chakra. In the chakra, there is the will of the Sage of Six Paths, hoping that the ninja world can be unified, and the object of the unification of the ninja world is Ajura. The so-called chakra communication world is another kind of slavery. All people are affected by his chakra will and surrender to his will. Thirdly, Indra and Ajura. Every time they reincarnate, they can gather loyal followers around them, making people recognize their will. The chakras of Indra and Ajura are not completely reincarnated in the same person. Senju even suspected that there was part of Ajura's chakra in his body, so he died such an idiot. The entire ninja world is like the experimental field of Sage of Six Paths. He wants the world to agree with his will and his ideas. It wasn't until Ajura defeated Indra and Indra admitted his defeat that the will of Sage of Six Paths dissipated and may exist in this world in another way. The more Senju thought about it, the more frightened he became. As long as you use chakra, you will inevitably be affected by the Sage of Six Paths and cannot escape the fate of becoming the enemy of the Otsutsuki clan. Especially his identity, what he relies on for transcendence is the bloodline complement system. Destined to be the enemy of the Sage of Six Paths and the Otsutsuki clan. He took a long breath and focused on the blood replenishment system. Only then did he gain some confidence. Mother Earth was his support. The one who wins in the end must be himself. Instead of being manipulated and becoming a victim, it is better to take the initiative and hunt down the entire ninja world. Use your own ninja to fight against the will of Sage of Six Paths. His eyes fell on the panel, and the battle with Sage of Six Paths was destined to never end. Name: Senju Rope Tree, Eri attribute. Incomplete power of 6 paths, 7 chakra attributes. Bloodline: incomplete Sage of 6 paths body, advanced immortal body, 3 Magatama Sharingan, advanced with style, class. Planetary advanced life form, chakra 536288 skills, 3 body technique, advanced. Ninjutsu throwing technique, advanced. Basic taijutsu, advanced. Senju fluid technique, advanced. 7 attributes chakra ninjutsu, intermediate, passive. Scientific research acumen, advanced. Senju Rope Tree secretly thought about it, and after this period of digestion, his faceplate transformed again. In addition to quantitative changes, there are also qualitative changes. The most obvious place is that the once complex chakra attributes have become incomplete. The complicated bloodline, with style, Senju clan immortal body, Uchiha clan 3 Magatama Sharingan, disappeared, turning into an incomplete Sage of 6 paths body. These two major changes point to a direction. His current body is moving closer to that of an orthodox Otsutsuki clan, but it still lacks some key factors. Only by completing these things can he be comparable to Sage of 6 paths, or even surpass Sage of 6 paths. The power of Sage of 6 paths, the 7 attributes of chakra, are perfectly condensed together. Sage of 6 paths was only mastered in the later stage after defeating Otsutsuki Kagaya and becoming Ten Tails Jinchuriki. Want to make the power of Sage of 6 paths complete? Senju Rope Tree has its sights on the tailed beast, and absorbing the bloodline of the tailed beast should be able to make his Sage of 6 paths power no longer incomplete. As for the complete Sage of 6 paths body, Senju sets its target on Otsutsuki Kagaya. She is the strongest immortal body and is immortal. This is a fact acknowledged by Sage of 6 paths. Sage of 6 paths simply accepts the legacy of Otsutsuki Kagaya. Otsutsuki Kagaya's fighting performance allowed Senju to find a breakthrough. He would replenish his body from the existing families in the ninja world, especially the special blood succession limited families. Starting from the close relatives of the Senju clan, the immortal body of the Uzumaki clan, the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan, the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, the bones of the Teru Uruchi clan, these are all important and complementary parts of the immortal human body, and they are all his goals. Senju stroked the scroll in his hand, squinting his eyes, and a dangerous light emitted from his eyes. I haven't freed up my hands yet, but you are already impatient, so let's have fun. Various countries and ninja villages are carrying out various small tricks. Shake his head and sigh. His eyes were fixed on the last line of the scroll. The daimyo of the Land of Fire wants to use the Senju clan to get rid of the Kong ninja village. The purpose is to make both sides suffer losses. The last line of words should have been added by Senju Doma. Clan leader, do you want to reject the eldest lady? Senju Doma waited for a long time, and noticed that the expression on Senju's face was constantly changing. He didn't want to make it difficult for Senju, so he suggested. The eldest lady in his mouth was Senju Nasuki's aunt, who was married to the current daimyo of the Fire Country. The Senju family felt a great debt of gratitude to them for helping them take back the Wooden City. No, we, a Senju group, never let down those who treat us sincerely. When we were in a difficult situation, my aunt extended a helping hand, and now it's time to repay her. Senju shook his head slightly, his eyes flashing with warmth. In his memory, the impression of this aunt has been slightly blurred, but she extended her hands in difficult times, which is worthy of Senju's memory. I just feel in my heart that this world is really twisted. A daimyo who had no control over his power actually had the guts to test him. The older they get, the more demonic they become, but they use old-fashioned rules to restrict the Senju clan. When the Senju clan was sanctioned through economic means, his influence must have been involved, and it should be resolved properly in the future. Chapter 71. Letting his brother become a daimyo was a way of repaying his aunt's kindness. Senju Toma raised the corners of his mouth slightly, narrowed the corners of his eyes, and felt relieved. This is the style of the Senju clan, repaying kindness and repaying hatred. Today's Senju Rope Tree is the perfect patriarch in his mind. He just needs to help him well. Clan leader. I'm afraid this is also a conspiracy, Senju Doma reminded, playing his role. Just as he commented behind the scenes, the daimyo's purpose of doing this was, I want both the Senju clan and the Kong ninja village to suffer losses. Yes, the so-called politics and compromise always make people distrustful. We can only believe in the power in our own hands. Senju nodded, indicating that he had seen the reminder. If he really destroys the Kong ninja village, will the Fire Country daimyo fulfill his promise? This is a good opportunity to see a person and a country clearly. You have powerful power in your hands. You just need to be yourself. You decide. What do you think about the Whirlpool Kushina? The Uzumaki clan and the Senju clan have a habit of marrying each other. As the heirs of the two families, Yu and Uzumaki Kushina mentioned it at first. After Mito Uzumaki passed away, no one mentioned it again. Behind this, there are the hands and feet of Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, who uses his disciple Namikaze Minato to plunder the resources of the Uzumaki clan and weaken the influence of the Senju clan. When Kushina Uzumaki was abducted by Kimagakur in Konoha village, Umbu's ninjas stopped the guards of our Senju clan, giving him an opportunity to create a hero's chance to save the beauty. Senju Doma touched his beard with satisfaction, but he couldn't keep up with Senju Nawaki's thoughts. Recalling a secret, it may be helpful to Senju Rope Tree, so I opened my mouth to report it. This is interesting. If I die, Minato Namikaze can marry Kushina Uzumaki. The so-called love affair, placing Uzumaki Kushina in the same class as Namikaze Minato, and even creating a series of encounters and coincidences are all to cultivate the relationship between the two people. Who is behind the scenes? Senju Nawaki was in a trance for a moment. The secret revealed by Senju Doma was information that he did not understand. The plan to make Sarutobi Hiruzen? Or is there someone else behind it? It's such a familiar and vulgar plot, where a hero saves a beauty. It's disgusting. According to the original plot, the final result is that he died. Namikaze Minato married Shirofumi, obtained the inheritance of the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan, and reached the pinnacle of the ninja world. Create a civilian genius character, get the support of many people, break out of the siege, and inherit the position of Fourth Hokage. If it weren't for the final plot kill, sealing the little nine tails and dying, it would be the protagonist among the protagonists. Does Kushina Uzumaki know about our possible engagement? Senju asked curiously. Uzumaki Mito mentioned it several times, especially when sealing Nine Tails. Nine Tails is nominally assigned to Konoha, but in fact it is still guarded by our Senju clan, because Nine Tails also has the psychic beast Uchiha Madara. Mark. It's a pity that several of Tobirama's disciples are secretly trying to control Nine Tails. Senju Doma lowered his head in thought, frowning Kaido. Look at the Senju Rope Tree, it looks a little weird. Is it ready to accept the Whirlpool Kushina? The alliance between the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan was in line with the traditions of the two families, and he was happy to see it happen. Senju Naoki fell into thinking, and he really had his thoughts on Uzumaki Kushina. On the one hand, behind the scenes that he didn't understand, the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan should have made arrangements long ago. On the other hand, he is interested in the Nine Tails and Kushina Uzumaki's body, and wants to try to melt the Nine Tails chakra to supplement the power of Six Paths. In the future, during the Fourth Ninja War, Uchiha Obito, Uchiha Madara, and Uzumaki Naruto awaken the power of the Six Paths by gathering the power of the nine-tailed beasts. On the other hand, Senju wants to test the person behind the scenes through the Whirlpool Kushina. He wanted to see it. If there is really a black hand behind the scenes, and he takes away Uzumaki Kushina and Uchiha Mikoto, will Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke still be born, and how will they be born? Konoha? You're very sincere. It's a pity. Senju shook his head and looked at the scroll in his hand. Some people cannot be forgiven and should not be forgiven. The words just fell. The aura from his body spread out. A powerful wave of air spread outward, and a spider web-like crack appeared on the ground. Phew. In the corner, a little toad was squeezed like a leaf, with blood spraying from its mouth. Gwa-gwa. The little toad made a miserable cry and turned into a cloud of smoke. Leave a small scroll in its place. Jiraiya. Senju Doma's face showed waves of anger. The little toad just now was obviously a psychic beast, and a not weak psychic beast at all. Being able to withstand the momentum of the Senju Rope Tree, finally cancel the psychic spell, and escape back to Mount Mayaboku, it is worthy of being one of the three major psychic holy places. It's him. It seems that some of Konoha's actions have given him other thoughts. There is no shortage of self-righteous fools in this world. Senju Rope Tree waved his hand, and a vine rolled up the scroll left by the little toad and opened it. Meet at Moon Lake outside Wood City. Among them was the news that Jiraiya asked him to meet. Is there an ambush here? Senju Dojian looked hesitant. It was obvious that Jiraiya's behavior was very unusual. Ambush? With Jiraiya's character, is it possible? I want to see what he looks like now. Senju Naoki seemed to be asking himself, and he also seemed to be asking Senju Doma. Jiraiya's various behaviors have become unlike himself. It's more like being manipulated by the old toad on Mount Mayaboku, or even by Sage of Six Paths, to stop the movement of the Senju Rope Tree and get everything back on track. This appointment, I'll accompany you. Senju Dojian saw the intention to leave in Senju's eyes. Go? Senju woke up suddenly and stared closely at the scroll left by Jiraiya. I had just been affected by the scroll, and the flow of chakra and natural attribute chakra in my body accelerated. The idea of going to see Jiraiya came up. Senju Doma should have stopped him, but instead accompanied him. This behavior was very abnormal, which made Senju Naoju alert. Psychological suggestion? You can improve your strength there? There is an uncanny feeling about the Senju Rope Tree. There is an energy in this scroll. Let the power of Sage of Six Paths in his body blend with the natural attribute chakra, giving him a feeling of improvement. This feeling made him and Senju Doma take actions that met Jiraiya's expectations. It's a subtle psychological suggestion. Chapter 72. When I see the message left by Jiraiya, I will have a feeling that my wish has come true. I will unconsciously agree with the message and have the urge to go to the appointment. This is a biological instinct, impacting towards a higher level of life. That is to say, the Senju Rope Tree uses another bloodline to evolve and reaches the same level as Toad Sage. Only then can the flaws in it be discovered and it will still be affected by it. Toad Oil, purified natural energy. The words on the scroll are not only the sealing array that arouses the mind, but are also written with Toad Oil. It can give Senju Noju and Senju Doma the illusion of improving their strength, as if they can see the way forward in the future. There are two ways to reach the level of Super Shadow. One is to tap his own bloodline, purify it, and move closer to the Otsutsuki clan, such as Azura and Indra. He is now taking this path and has achieved good results. The other is the fusion of natural attributes chakra, Sage Mode. The old Toad actually used this method to set him up. He had already realized the current strength and threat of Senju Rope Tree, so he resorted to such a shameful method. Go up the pole and seek death, and I will grant your wish. Senju waved his hand and smashed the scroll left by Jiraiya, with a stern look in his eyes. There were originally many people plotting against him, and they planned to solve it in the Kong Ninja Village first. Unexpectedly, Jiraiya and the old Toad could no longer bear it. Was it the Uzumaki Kushina proposed by Konoha who felt sorry for them and threatened the birth of Naruto Uzumaki? That made them like this. Anxious? Senju Naoshu guessed in his heart. Since they took the initiative to come together, then they would help him. He also wanted to see what kind of background Jiraiya and Mount Mayaboka had. What does another Sage Mode road look like? Towards evening, Senju Rope Tree came to Moon Lake. The surface of the lake is like a mirror, reflecting the red sunset, as if it is about to burn. There are several small islands in the center of the lake, which are half the size of the city. The lake is surrounded by vegetation and can hide many things. Jiraiya, you really know how to choose a place. Senju Rope Tree, standing on the top of a giant tree, overlooking everything under your feet. You are infected by the beautiful scenery. Unfortunately, there is a huge threat lurking here. There were no insects chirping around, nor the clamor of toads that he expected. The scene in front of me was like a lifeless painting. The power in the body connects with the surrounding plants and senses an ambush. There are countless toads throughout the space, hiding in various ways. In Senju's heart, he is looking forward to the future more and more. Goryolu. On the calm lake surface, a series of bubbles emerged. Jiraiya stood on top of the huge red toad bunta and emerged from the water. Jiraiya, your way of showing up is really unique. Senju stared at Jiraiya's legs, trying to figure out the clues. He had long sensed that there was more than one giant toad in the lake. Jiraiya changed his previous dressing style and covered his legs with dark green wide trousers. The clogs he was once accustomed to were replaced by wide ninja combat boots. He became more and more curious about how Jiraiya's legs were covered. Senju Rope Tree, you still can't escape your fate. Jiraiya's eyes shot out a sharp light, with a hint of hatred in it. Jiraiya, who was above the head of the toad, gathered the surrounding natural energy, and his aura continued to strengthen. Look at how embarrassed you are. Can you accept your fate after losing your legs? From the look in your eyes, I have got the answer. Senju's face was full of ridicule. He talks about tolerance, but when suffering befalls Jiraiya, he doesn't let go so easily. Jiraiya was short of breath, and his aura fluctuated. His face changed, with small pimples bulging out, becoming more and more like a toad. His life form at this time can no longer be regarded as a pure human being, but a combination of human beings and toads. Senju Rope Tree, I gave you a chance. Since you accept the guidance of fate, you should accept it, Jiraiya had a moment of opportunity, turned around, and his face became calm. Now that the Senju Rope Tree has come here, it still has not escaped the prophecy of the great Toad Sage, and has not escaped the control of the Toad Sage. He firmly believes in the existence of destiny. What you call fate is to use disgusting means to change other people's minds. It's really shameful. Senju shook his head, his face full of disgust. Coming here this time, in Jiraiya's words, became a guide to destiny. Using shady means to control him is what is called destiny. The Senju Rope Tree has been out of control for a long time, and the other party is still unaware. The purpose of this trip is to get rid of the self-righteous Jiraiya and the old Toad and test the power behind them. The so-called prophecy is like a joke. Boy, what a loud tone. Naturally, the red toad at his feet was holding a pipe in his mouth and blowing out a puff of white smoke. The toad's eyes were full of contempt. After a big jump, I came to the lake and looked down at the Senju Rope Tree. Jiraiya, who was above him, wanted to stop but was too late. In the end, strength will speak for itself. Senju's mouth curved slightly, disdainful to continue arguing. Use your own means to get the results you want. Gamabunta took the initiative to approach, giving him a chance to attack. With style, the art of cutting. Senju Rope Tree clasped his hands together and said no more. Wooden thorns shot out from the ground. Each one was about 40 or 50 meters away, enough to penetrate Gamabunta's body. Bunta, it's dangerous, Jiraiya warned. Gwa. Gamabunta also realized the danger. Recalling the arrangements of Shima Sennin and Fukasaku Sennin, I became alert and realized the misplacement I had made. I approached the earth, fought hand-to-hand, jumped back to the lake. The wooden thorn hit his belly, leaving a shallow line with blood oozing out. There were drops of sweat dripping from the top of Gamabunta's head. As expected of Wood style, its speed and power can threaten giant psychic beasts like us. Just as I was rejoicing, pink petals fluttered down in the sky. Jiraiya frowned and stared at the Senju Rope Tree in the distance. Untie. I made seals with my hands, thinking I was hit by Jinjutsu, but nothing happened. More cautious, I sighed in my heart. Has the other party's Wood style been developed to this extent? He raised his hand and touched the place where the petals had fallen. The scarlet color visible to the naked eye was his own blood. Looking down, I look like Toadbunta. Where the petals dance, there are traces left behind. The knots on the toad's back have been smoothed and smoothed. It's not very lethal? Jiraiya still had doubts in his heart. Ha ha ha, Jiraiya. His legs turned into toad legs. No wonder the aura on his body is so weird. Senju Rope Tree laughed heartily, and the questions in his heart were answered. His legs grew again, thanks to the immortal body reaching a high level. Jiraiya's legs were obviously cut off by him, but now they appeared completely in front of him. It turned out that they were connected with a pair of ugly toad legs. Chapter 73. Senju, you really deserve to die. The look of shame and anger on Jiraiya's face became more and more intense. The clothes on his lower body were cut open by petals, and the dark green pants turned into debris. This is the purpose of the Senju Rope Tree, revealing a pair of green toad legs with extremely well-developed muscles. Although Jiraiya didn't mind living with toads, the transformation of his lower body into a toad was somewhat unacceptable to him, just as he couldn't accept toad cuisine and eating some bugs like toads. Jiraiya, the other party is stubborn. Start our plan. Gamabunta spurted black toad oil from his mouth and poured it on his body, making the wounds disappear. The pimples that were originally on his body also disappeared. Gamabunta has always been proud of the knots and lines on his body, but now that they were destroyed by the Senju Rope Tree, his anger keeps rising in his heart. Qua. Gamabunta raised his head and called out. Quack, quack, quack. The cry is like a signal, causing resonance at all levels. Mount Miyaboku's toads, are they coming out in full force? Senju shook his head and looked around. In Moon Lake, giant toads whose height is comparable to that of Toadbunta emerge, and there are dozens of them. By the lake, toads that are tens of meters, or more than 10 meters in size, can be seen everywhere. On the shore and in the woods, there were thousands of little toads, which also made a disturbing noise. Senju Rope Tree suddenly felt ridiculous. Is it the formation of 10,000 toads? This is what Jiraiya and the old toad did. Following the cry, Senju Rope Tree felt something abnormal. The surrounding natural chakra and the surrounding mist are getting thicker and thicker. As long as chakra is refined, the natural attribute chakra will be integrated into the body unconsciously. This limits his power to use ninjutsu, which is reduced by half. As the natural attribute chakra continues to gather, it will be restricted. This is for sure. Now I don't know how to use the natural attribute chakra. Senju Naoki squinted his eyes and understood in his heart. These toads are using this method to suppress his strength. If he knew how to use the natural attribute chakra, then the old toad scroll's control of his actions would be ineffective. Since he came here, he just didn't know how to use the natural attribute chakra, so he fell into the old toad's way. This is a simple filter. But Senju Rope Tree has gone further on the road of blood than the old toad expected. Now the incomplete immortal human body and incomplete immortal human power can suppress part of the natural attribute chakra. Now he can still use his chakra, and even given enough time, he can awaken his sage mode. Senju, you are too arrogant. You have no respect for this world and do not know how to respect fate. My disciple Namikaze Minato is the true son of the world and will bring unprecedented peace to this world. If you offend fate, you will eventually pay the price. Jiraiya revealed his big white fang and said solemnly, as if he was pronouncing sentence on the Senju Rope Tree. The chirping of toads gradually stopped, dark clouds gathered in the sky, and light rain fell. Who is arrogant? Who is shameless? Using so-called power to interfere with my choice? The fate you talk about is that I will die inexplicably, become a stepping stone for Namikaze Minato, and become the idiot you talk about beating again. Senju's eyes widened, and he was more and more shocked by the distortion of the world. He asked a series of questions to vent the anger in his heart. I just want to live well, but you want to control my actions, take away my life, and control the trajectory of my life for the fate you say, for your own will. How could it be as you wish? Senju Rope Tree raised his head and looked to the sky. The rain fell on his face, leaving streaks of blood. The rainwater summoned by these toads turned out to be a large-scale water style, and it also had offensive properties, like a weakened version of the Whirlpool Water Blade, which was similar to the Petalwood style he just used. In order to achieve your own goals, conduct some kind of temptation. Is it the true body? Jiraiya, above Gamabunta's head, was still unsure. Things like clones, especially would clone with substance, are even more uncontrollable than shadow clone. Those who can shed blood should not be shadow clone or would clone. Follow Toad Sage's instructions and act. Gamabunta opened his eyes completely, made a decision, and ordered to dozens of giant toads around him. Wood-style wooden golems technique? The Senju Rope Tree clasped its hands together. The ground beneath its feet shook, and a cross-sitting wooden golem appeared. A full 50-60 meters tall, almost as high as Gamabunta. The Buddha crown on the top of wooden golem is sunken, just enough to accommodate the Senju Rope Tree to shelter from the rain. From the performance of these toads, I have a guess in my mind. The large-scale ninjutsu just now was to test whether his current body was a clone. The corners of his mouth turned up unconsciously, his eyebrows curved, and his eyes narrowed. Sage of Six Paths, let him understand a truth. The longer you stay, the longer you live, the more chess pieces you have, and the more you can get what you want. Jiraiya and these toads want to use some method. He began to pay more and more attention to the battle on the opposite side. Puff! Dozens of big toads lined up and surrounded the Senju Rope Tree in the center. Senju's face suddenly darkened. Looking at the movements of the many toads, he had a premonition of what he would face next. As he expected, the toad's belly became round, opened its mouth, and spit out black toad oil. Gradually a small lake is formed, wrapping the Senju Rope Tree in the middle. Disgusting! There are only two words to describe Senju Rope Tree. Wood-style, deep forest creation. Senju Rope Tree clasped his hands together, with a giant wooden golem at his feet, making the same movements as him. The ground shook and the water in the lake rolled. Tree after tree, they break out of the ground and form a barrier to protect the Senju Rope Tree in the center. Senju Nizuki keenly discovered that his wood style at this moment was affected by the toad oil, and was once again weakened by more than half. Water style water spout. Wind release tornado. He used two escape techniques in succession to try to disperse the toad oil, but it didn't have much effect. Toad oil is floating in the surrounding air. As the environment becomes more polluted, the natural chakra becomes richer. Senju Rope Tree unconsciously perceives the natural properties of chakra around him, giving him a feeling. If he practices in this environment, he can simply master the natural attribute chakra and master Sage Mode in just a few hours. Chapter 74. What do these toads want to do? Senju asked in confusion. Is it really such a good thing? To create such an environment suitable for practicing Sage Mode? It's because they misjudged my strength and didn't think I had the ability to understand Sage Mode's cultivation methods. A flash of lightning flashed across Senju's mind, and he saw the pride in the eyes of the giant toad opposite. Tamamaru never imagined that there would be people whose bloodline was purified and completed to the point where Azura and Indra could be reincarnated. So he would deal with it in this way. Sage mode, able to control the natural attribute chakra. Extremely rare in this world, the three major spiritual beast holy places are able to gain a foothold in the ninja world precisely because they master the sage mode training method. The changes in the surrounding environment gave Senju the answer. These toads wanted him to excessively absorb the natural attribute chakra and turn him into a stone statue. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of heavy objects falling sounded, attracting Senju's attention. They were stone statues that looked like various toads. The information about these stone statues appeared in my mind, and it was someone who failed to practice sage mode. Click. The moment the stone statue hit the ground, cracks appeared. Jiraiya now. Two old toads, Shima Sennin and Fukasaku Sennin, stood on Jiraiya's shoulders at some point. Jiraiya's eyebrows grew crazily, and his face changed, becoming more and more like an old toad. All the toads present looked at Jiraiya with a little more respect. The current image of Jiraiya is Toad Sage. Gamamaru, who has lived from the age of mythology to the present, once participated in sealing Kagaya and guided the practice of Sage of Six Paths. All things come back. Natural growth, Jiraiya shouted fiercely, and the two old toads on his shoulders screamed in conjunction with Jiraiya. The toad is a symbol of luck and return, and now it has become a force. Kwa, gwa. The entire space was still, only the black toad oil was rolling. There were nearly 100 giant toads around, cooperating with Jiraiya to control the toad oil. Jiraiya, with Shima Sennin and Fukasaku Sennin on his shoulders, controlled the natural attribute chakra and rushed towards the Senju Rope Tree. Senju's movements are restricted, and she cannot control her body. The toad stone statues exploded and mixed into the black toad oil, looking for their target, the Senju Rope Tree. Bang, bang. The black toad oil hit the foot of the Senju Rope Tree, and the wooden golem turned into pieces. The Senju Rope Tree fell into the toad oil, and the fragments of the toad stone statue were found. Pieces of fragments swarmed onto the body of the Senju Rope Tree. In an instant, fragments of the toad statue were attached to the surface of Senju's body, and he also turned into a stone statue. The fragments continued to accumulate, sealing the Senju Rope Tree within it. Senju's body seemed to be covered with a thin layer of stone fragments, as if he failed to practice sage mode and turned into a stone statue. This material? It is full of natural attribute chakra, so that the sealed person cannot use chakra and can only wait for death. Senju Nezuki's last consciousness, analyzing Toad and Jiraiya's methods. These stone statues are people who failed to practice sage mode and became the foundation and means of Mount Mayaboku. Everything is settled. Jiraiya released the changes on his body and returned to his original appearance. Jumped down from Gamabunta's head. Senju Rope Tree, this is your destiny. Surrender to the fate predicted by Toad Sage. There was a look of hatred in his eyes that never dissipated. He was in a trance, so he killed the Senju Rope Tree so easily? It doesn't seem to be as powerful as imagined. Jiraiya let out a light sigh, frowned, put his head close to the stone statue, and stared at the stone statue in front of him, trying to see the flowers. No, this looks like Sarutobi Aoyama. Shockingly, it was discovered that the person who turned into a stone statue was not Senju, but Jonin, a member of the Sarutobi clan who had disappeared. He jumped back and stood on the moon lake, his eyes darting around with caution. Puff puff, gwa gwa gwa. In the woods, there were strange noises, bursts of explosions, the miserable cry of toads, and bursts of smoke rising. The trees that were originally more than 10 meters high grew crazily and doubled in size. On the tree trunk, vines were wrapped around each other to remove the toads hidden in the forest. Jiraiya, is this your method? The figure of Senju Nezumi stood on the top of a tree, with a look of disappointment on his face. The old toad relies on the natural attribute chakra that can compete with the power of six paths. He has been coveting this kind of power for a long time, and now he sees the direction of cultivation. With the help of toad oil, you can master it quickly. Is this the true body? Is it a clone technique? Or a substitute technique? Gamabunta, who was in the middle of Moon Lake, asked in confusion. When they used their methods, they had already tested that the original Senju Rope Tree was the original body. After being attacked by water style, it didn't disappear, but blood flowed out, which was obviously flesh. The idiot Jiraiya you used to be has such scheming intentions. You have become less like yourself. Senju Naoki shook his head and ignored Gamabunta's noise, but looked at Jiraiya, whose temperament changed drastically. He is completely a puppet at the mercy of Mount Mayaboku Toad, and he looks the same without him. He also had no idea of solving the Toad's doubts. There are many kinds of clone techniques and substitute techniques. Elephant transformation clone technique. Inject your own chakra into a container. The container has half of the combat power of the original body. No wonder the height of the wooden golem is only half of what is recorded in the intelligence. It is a clone technique that far surpasses shadow clone and wood clone. Jiraiya lowered his head and pondered, finding a close answer. This answer can perfectly explain why the wood style used by Senju is only about the same size as Gamabunta. As expected of Sarutobi Hiruzen's good disciple, you two masters and disciples have browsed through all the secret arts of our Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan. This is something that ordinary civilians will never come into contact with in their lives. Senju Rope Tree taunted. What a bullshit civilian genius, what a bullshit Dr. Ninjutsu. They are all vampires lying on the bodies of the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan. A despotic person standing on the shoulders of Senju Tobirama. This kind of clone technique was used by Kisame in the original plot. The clone and the original body. Before the chakra is consumed, there is no difference between the various reactions and the original body. It has a physical body at the same time, and is difficult to be seen through by others. The only difference is that the power of ninjutsu will be reduced. This clone technique is a derivative of the Earth reincarnation developed by Senju Tobirama. The powerful ninja uses his own chakra to replace the container's will, and takes the container's body as his own. Senju had a premonition of the danger this time, so he used the elephant-turning clone technique to test the opponent's methods. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Chapter. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 75. How could you get rid of Toad Sage's prophecy? A look of surprise flashed across Jiraiya's face. What concerned him was that the Senju Rope Tree seemed to be out of Toad Sage's control. The Senju Rope Tree at this time? There's a good chance it's still a clone. I had doubts about myself and Toad Sage. Everything did not go as smoothly as expected. Can they really defeat the Senju Rope Tree as they wish? Jiraiya, you can try to kill me again. Senju jumped down from the top of the tree crown with a smile on his face. Take the initiative to fall into the toad oil, and try to absorb and control the natural attribute chakra with the help of the characteristics of the toad oil. Young man, what a shame. How can you understand the greatness of immortals? Toad Bunta in the center of the lake retorted, blowing out a puff of smoke from his mouth. It's not allowed. Senju Rope Tree insults the Toad Sage who controls it all. Return naturally. Jiraiya clasped his hands together, and Shima Sage and Fukasaku Sage on his shoulders cooperated with him. Repeat the old tricks. Natural attribute chakra is like a cage, trapping Senju Rope Tree and trying to drown him. The fragments of the toad statue are like weapons, trying to break the body of the Senju Rope Tree. Deep forest creation. Senju ropes surround the tree, and its roots break through the ground, protecting it. It does not let the fragments of the toad statue get close and only absorbs the natural attribute chakra. 15 minutes later, the body of the Senju Rope Tree was once again eroded by natural energy, covered with a layer of rock, and turned into a statue. The toads on Mount Mayaboku did not relax, and Jiraiya stepped forward to check. Not even his true form. How many innocent people has the Senju Rope Tree killed? Jiraiya saw the face of the stone statue in front of him and let out a helpless roar. How many containers and how many clones are there? A sense of frustration welled up from the bottom of my heart. Jiraiya? They and you deserve to be called innocent. The newly appeared Senju laughed in his heart when he heard such remarks. How could these people who wanted to kill him become innocent people? The Senju Rope Tree jumped into the toad oil again, ignoring the toad on Mount Mayaboku. Return naturally. The muscles on Jiraiya's face tensed. He gritted his teeth and attacked again. Confused in his heart, Senju's actions seemed to be provoking him. Deep forest creation. Senju Rope Tree used a familiar move. The difference is that the shape of wood style changes into a reed-like plant, which can better protect against the impact of toad oil. The toad oil combined with the toad stone statue fragments will impact the location of the Senju Rope Tree. This time Senju Rope Tree lasted for half an hour. It's another reincarnation, and every toad on Mount Mayaboku is facing a formidable enemy. Senju Rope Tree appeared again, and before Mount Mayaboku could attack, he took the lead in attacking. Sage art, wood style, Senju. The entire moon lake shook, and the water rolled and retreated. 100-meter-high wooden golem rises from the ground. Behind the wooden golem, countless arms form a barrier. Behind the barrier, there was a faint light shining, enough to compete with the setting sun. Not good. Senju Rope Tree has realized Sage Mode. Shima Sennin and Fukasaku Sennin on Jiraiya's shoulders looked at each other and exclaimed. They sensed that the light behind the wooden golem was the phenomenon caused by the condensation of the natural attribute chakra. At this time, Senju Rope Tree has initially mastered Sage Mode. Completely break their cognition and master Sage Mode in less than an hour. With his powerful chakra and excellent physical fitness, the power he can use far exceeds the combination of Jiraiya and two old toads. The surrounding toad oil becomes a boost to the Senju Rope Tree. Buddha and Shura appear on the top. The words of the two old toads fell into the ears of the Senju Rope Tree. They whispered in their mouths and exposed their teeth, giving them a ferocious feeling. Senju Hashirama's moves are integrated with his ideas, transforming into a Buddha on top, relying on powerful power to suppress everything. It seems to persuade all living beings to do good, but it turns them into a pulp. If you don't accept it, I will beat you until you do. The moves of Senju Rope Tree are integrated into my own concept. The form of the Buddha on the top changes, and it will not be so cruel. The form of the palm changes. If you don't accept it, kill it, and it becomes my power. The words fell. Various weapons appear among the countless arms behind the wooden golem. There were swords, spears, and swords in the previous life, and there were shurikens and kunai today. All weapons that can kill the opponent outright. Senju Rope Tree wants to give the opponent a good time. This is the way of ninja of the Senju Rope Tree, self-righteous fairness. Destiny returns. Jiraiya wanted to repeat his old trick, commanding the toad oil and stone statue fragments to attack the Senju Rope Tree. When he reaches the Senju Rope Tree, he is absorbed by the Senju Rope Tree and becomes his power. In exchange, the corners of Senju's mouth turned up slightly. It's seedy. He held his arms behind his back, holding various weapons, and moved around, aiming at the huge toads around him. These toads were shocked when they saw that the toad oil, the sacred object of Mount Mayaboku, could not cause harm to the Senju Rope Tree. Their already ugly toad faces were distorted in various ways. Remove the necromancy. Return to Mount Mayaboku. Fukasaku Sage and Shima Sage on Jiraiya's shoulders roared urgently, giving orders to the toads around them. Bang. The sound of wind, collisions, and explosions set off the clouds of smoke and blood mist. There were nearly 100 giant toads over 10 meters tall, half of which were killed with a single blow from the Senju Rope Tree. Senju Rope Tree, you deserve to die. You are so cruel. Jiraiya raised his head and shouted angrily. There was an unknown liquid left in his eyes and nose. Some giant toads were important companions who accompanied him in his growth. From tadpoles to giant toads today, they encountered countless dangers, but now half of them were martyred. You want me to die. So what can I do, or what should I do? Senju Rope Tree smiled and whispered softly. It seemed like he was responding to Jiraiya, and also like he was responding to himself. How can you easily let go of someone who is malicious to you? A group of beasts who use their power to change the will of others. Jiraiya, do you still think this is fate? Then surrender to the torrent of fate. Sage art with style, deep forest creation. The Senju Rope Tree puts its hands together, and the wooden golem under its feet slowly merges into the ground and turns into a group of thick tree roots. Little Jiraiya, hold on a little longer. Those who don't follow fate will eventually be bitten by fate. Shima Sennin and Fukasaku Sennin on Jiraiya's shoulders, cold sweat was clearly dripping from their foreheads, but they still advised Jiraiya. Staring closely at the surrounding Senju Rope Trees. Senju narrowed his eyes and felt the changes in his body. His eyes looked more and more like Toad's eyes. There is a will that attempts to invade his body through Toad oil and turn him into an ugly Toad.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.